Just a kind of a different attitude when everybody goes to Charlotte.
It's in everybody's backyard, every team's backyard. Everybody wants to run well at Charlotte.
The track's fast and it has a lot of variables. You can drive it differently early in the race than late in the race, move around on the track.
Lowe's is fast, obviously. I mean, there's a new asphalt there, and it's really fast.
It's just a bit smoother, and this year will probably be closer to the old track than it's been since they repaved it.
You always want to run good there.
The boys are back in town. Say, the boys are back in town.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Busch Series comes to you tonight from Lowe's Motor Speedway, just outside Charlotte, North Carolina. A lot of big-name drivers have won big races here. Allison and Ard, Gant and Gordon, Earnhardt, Martin, even a Jarrett. Someone's going to add their name to that list tonight after 300 miles of racing on a fast but very fickle racetrack. We will see how it unfolds over the next couple of hours. Glad that you are with us. Drivers are buckled in. You see the great crowd on hand. Weather conditions perfect. Let's go trackside and get the command to get it started.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome tonight's Grand Marshal Peter Meyer as he delivers the most famous words in motorsports.
Gentlemen, light them up!
All right, gang, fire 'em up. Here you go, buddy. Crank it up. Gonna be fun tonight. You ready for the show?
Our group upstairs to call the race tonight has expanded just a bit, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's go to Dr. Jerry Punch.
Thanks, Alan. Well, on the track as a driver, Ned Jarrett captured 2 NASCAR championships and logged 50 career wins, including this remarkable 14-lap victory in the 1965 Southern 500. Now, as a broadcaster, Gentleman Ned filled the living rooms of race fans everywhere with the warmth and charisma and sometimes even the candid emotion that only a father can deliver watching his son realize a dream. Along with his sidekick, the late Benny Parsons, they were arguably the best duo of analysts in motorsports television history. Well, we at ESPN are truly honored to have Ned Jarrett back with us. And Ned, welcome home.
Well, thank you, Jerry. It's nice to be back in the booth and working with you once again and see some of my old friends at ESPN, and to work with Andy Petrie, who, along with you and Dale, I saw all of you grow up at Newton Conover High, and to be able to work with Dale in my second career. Of course, I never got to drive against him.
That's really true. Yeah, DJ, your dad actually retired when you were 9 years old, so you never got to compete on the racetrack. What does it mean to share a broadcast booth with him tonight?
Well, this is a thrill of a lifetime for me. I want to say thanks to you who made it happen, Jerry, and everyone at ESPN for giving us this opportunity. It's just great to be in here. I admired him on the racetrack and in the broadcast booth, so I'm looking forward to tonight.
And Ned, you were always Dale's most candid critic when it comes to driving. How's he doing as a broadcaster?
I've watched every race that you folks have done here on ESPN this year, and I've been impressed. You know, naturally I'm prejudiced, but I also like to feel him realistic. I think he's done a good job.
He's doing a great job. Let's put him to work now as an analyst. DJ, you just came off the track in the UPS Toyota. You start 23rd tomorrow in the happy hour final practice. What kind of track conditions will these guys be facing here tonight?
Well, their biggest obstacle right now is the track is the hottest that it's been all week. It's going to cool down as we go on tonight, but they haven't been in race conditions for quite a while. You know, it was Thursday evening, though, was their last time to be on this racetrack, and they really don't know what to expect. They were really holding on for dear life in qualifying is what they were doing. Now they get ready to go race. The air pressures are down. It's going to take them a little bit of time. I look for them just to kind of feel things out and get going, but a difficult racetrack with a very hard tire.
It is shaping up to be a special night. When we return, we'll take a look at our star-studded field of drivers. We'll be joined by our championship crew chief, Andy Petrie, and we'll have more from our family of champions, the Jarretts, father and son. Stay with us. Tonight's NASCAR Busch Series action is being brought to you by the Tractor Supply Company, the stuff you need out here. And by Castrol GTX High Mileage, superior oil burn-off protection for cars over 75,000 miles. And Gatorade Thirst Quencher Gatorade. Is it in you? And let's take a look at our starting grid. The ticker will come across the top of your screen. It's an all-Wisconsin front row. Cambridge, Wisconsin driver Matt Kenseth becoming the 11th different pole winner this year in 13 races. And beside him, Necedah, Wisconsin driver Scott Wimmer. And while you look to where your favorite driver is starting, we'll talk with our in-race reporter, the driver of the Penske Truck Rental Dodge, who starts 5th tonight, Kurt Busch.
Kurt Busch, Dale Jarrett, you have a copy?
10-4, DJ.
Hey, Kirk, starting 5th, obviously you have a fast race car and you know your way around here. What are your chances for starting a big weekend for Penske Racing here tonight?
Well, the car's been pretty good in practice all throughout, but now we're finally in the nighttime where all the grip out of the track finally gets to come to us. And we hope we have the right setup in the Penske Truck Rental Dodge. Looking for a good night. A little pit strategy is going to play into it later on, so we'll see how we come out on top.
Kurt, being in that last Cup practice, did you learn anything about the track that will help you at the start of this race?
Definitely making sure the sun went behind the grandstands. That's the best part, and that medicine there just adds a couple tenths of speed to the car. So everything's going to check out for us. We'll see how the car settles in, and we'll see if we can't go to the front.
Okay, Kurt, good luck, and we'll talk to you later on.
10-4, thanks, guys.
All right, we will be talking with his crew chief later on tonight, Matthew Gimbel, there in the Penske pits, as Matt will be giving us and all of you at home some insight into strategy and how to win a 300-miler here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Well, we'll also have 8 onboard cameras, high-definition onboard cameras. Clint Boyer starting 9th in the BB&T Chevrolet. Mike Wallace, the Geico Chevy, starting back in 26th. You just heard from Kurt Busch a moment ago. There's David Gilliland starting 14th, the FreeCreditReport.com Ford. Of course, Jason Leffler starts 28th in the Great Clips Toyota. And Carl Edwards, our points leader, the Ortho Ford, starts in 10th position. The City Financial Ford starts 12th. That is Stephen Light. And, of course, the Aaron's Dream Machine Toyota for David Rudeman starts back in 24th position in the 99 car. And let's check in the pits for some final stories before we go green. First, here's our Shannon Spade.
Well, Doc points leader Carl Edwards is the model of consistency this season. In 12 Busch Series starts, he's only finished outside the top 10 once. He says he loves racing at Charlotte in front of his family and friends, and very confident, says he knows he can win this race. Mike?
Thanks, Shannon. During Saturday's All-Star race, Matt Kenseth made a costly mistake, speeding on pit road, but it's that mistake that could prove to be a blessing this weekend. After rallying back from the penalty, Kenseth learned a valuable lesson. His car was significantly better in clean air, and he struggled in traffic. Because of that, they put a setup in this Busch car tonight that will enable them to navigate better in race conditions. How good is the car? Crew chief Drew Blickensderfer says they haven't turned a wrench on it all weekend. Dave?
Mike, tonight Scott Wimmer drives the 2006 championship winning number 21 for Richard Childress Racing. He wasn't originally scheduled to drive this car. He tested it on day 1 of the test here at Charlotte, got it up to speed. Development driver Timothy Peters stepped in, could not come up to speed, so they tabbed Wimmer to drive the car for the race. Scott said earlier today, I'm not much of a qualifier, but I talked to him afterwards, and after sitting on the outside of the front row, Scott very happy with what he's achieved here. Would like to see the 21 car stay up front all night long. His 7th race of the season, 2nd time in the number 21 for Richard Childress.
Yeah, hoping for a big night, guys, for Scott Wimmer. He certainly is. And Andy, what about our keys to the race? What's it going to take to win this 300-miler tonight?
Well, Jerry, it's going to take making the right adjustments at the right time. This racetrack's going to be changing a lot from the start to the finish, and these guys are going to have to anticipate the racetrack changing and make those adjustments in time to make it work. And then these hard tires in this new racetrack. You know, the track's not new anymore. It's got a little bit of age to it. The hard tires now are really tailored to the old track or the new track when they redid it. So it's a little bit of a mismatch. These guys got to be careful on these tires when they get started. And then not making any mistakes late in the race. You can overcome a mistake early in the race in the pits, but you got to be on your game at the end.
Well, in what has become a Memorial Day weekend tradition under the lights here at Lowe's Motor Speedway, over 125,000 die-hard NASCAR fans are on their feet as this field of 43 cars approaches the green flag. Let's listen in as we get ready to go full throttle.
Be ready. Be ready. Be ready. All right, but be ready. Be ready. Be ready. Outside, 29. One outside. Clear for 29. Just fan line. Clear high. Clear high.
they complete lap number 1, and just like a year ago, Matt Kenseth's Ford sits on the pole and leads the early laps here, but in hot pursuit, a pair of Chevrolets. And back in the 3rd spot, these are teammates, by the way, Scott Wimmer and Jeff Burton, the 21 and 29.
Yeah, we see steam blowing out of that 99. We were just on board. Here we are on board with the 99. We see steam blowing out of the overflow right here. And that thing's, I just don't understand why the thing would be running hot this early in the race.
You know, Andy, they had a problem in practice the other day, and they haven't run this car except in qualifying. They actually, the side glass came out of somebody's car and hit the front of David Rudiman's and went through the radiator too. So I don't know if they've got it overfull, if they just got too much tape on the front, exactly what the problem is.
Yeah, Jerry Baxter and the crew had to...
Jerry, lots of water. We're going to make a wreck here if we're not careful.
They had to replace the radiator and the entire nose, and now a lot of smoke coming out of that Toyota.
Down pit road. There's a car up. You come down pit road.
And here's a possible change for 2nd position, as a 2-time winner here in Busch competition makes the move, and David Rudiman having just all kinds of trouble here early on now, smoke pouring from beneath that car.
And Jerry, he couldn't get out of the middle of the pack there so he could get on the pit road. He wanted to come on the pit road that time.
And this could be a situation that actually could have hurt the engine the other day before they actually realized. Even though it happened very quickly and the caution came out, it still doesn't take much to overheat these things, and this could be something that stemmed from that the other day. So it's very unfortunate.
Running, Jerry. There was something wrong with it from the get-go. I rode around there, and it jumped from 220 to 240 in a lap.
All right, it was the early laps of the final practice session here on Thursday when the right side window came out of J.J. Yaley's car and came sauntering down the track right into the grill. And watch it come right into the middle of David Rudiman's front, his Toyota, and basically destroyed the radiator.
Yeah, I was talking to those guys, and they said it just tore up the front end, and the piece went all the way through and into the radiator. And so you don't know what all damage it might have done, Andy.
Yeah, I was standing in the garage area on top of the hauler, and I saw him come into the garage after having hit that glass. I thought he had been in a wreck. It tore the car up so bad in the front.
And of course, Jerry Baxter and company replaced the radiator, and NASCAR said there will be no penalties. You can do what you want to do, guys. They wanted to fix this car. It was a very good car they had brought to Charlotte and replaced the radiator, but obviously now problems here in the early laps.
Yeah, we see Kurt Busch on the inside here going around Greg Biffle right now for 4th place. Kurt was very excited about this car. When we talked to him the other day, he really likes racing here, and he likes driving this Busch car a lot.
See the lap times coming down. The track's cooling off quite a bit from when they practiced, and actually when they qualified it was 140 degrees track temperature. So these guys have got a lot more grip on the racetrack to deal with right now.
Battle back for 13th position. That is Kyle Busch in the 5 car, now trying to make a move underneath Stephen Light, who had a great qualifying run. Light qualifying up toward the top 12 and now loses a spot.
Yeah, you had to know that Kyle Busch wasn't going to hang around back there very long. He's going to be filling this track out and going pretty fast. We know he likes to put the pedal down and get after it pretty quickly.
And I believe Stephen Light is feeling his car out right now. He knows that it's too early in the race to take any chances, so he's not fighting too hard to keep Kyle behind him.
You know, some of these guys, with an impound race and as hot as the racetrack was, some of these cars, and not taking anything away from Stephen and his team, but they probably got their car pretty tight, and it may be too tight now that the sun has gone down and we have some debris down in turn 1. It looks like caution's out now. I'm sure some of these guys will appreciate this caution. They'll either come in and make adjustments, or it just gives them time to take a breath and be able to relay what their car's doing so that they can talk about it and fix it later on.
Yeah, like you say, it gives them just a chance to kind of sit back and think, okay, now what do we got to deal with? And relay that to the crew chiefs, and then kind of get them prepared for what they're going to do when they do make a stop.
That's what they're going to do. It'll probably be silence on Matt Kenseth's radio, because his car looked awful good there, didn't it?
Looks like his guys are getting ready, though.
All right, we are under caution for the first time tonight, coming out on lap 8, debris on the racetrack. And how about a major wrestler, John Cena, trying to pump up the pit crew for what's going to happen with their first pit stop?
Everybody here knows it takes a different type of badass to go out there on a Saturday night and get 175-mile-an-hour gridlock. To get that badass to victory lane, it takes a damn team. Let's ante up. You've been talking 14 seconds all day. Let's keep it low 14s, high 13s. Scott's on 3. 1, 2, 3. Scott! Go get him, guys. Thank you very much.
And back at Lowe's Motor Speedway here, just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, in the early laps, pole sitter Matt Kenseth is our leader. Jeff Burton, Wimmer, Kurt Busch, and Carl Edwards in the top 5. Under caution for debris here, coming out a couple of laps ago. Now, Kenny Wallace is actually spotting. There's Kenny in the middle of the screen, spotting for his nephew, Stephen Wallace, the son of Rusty, who's up in Indianapolis. And just a moment ago, we heard this conversation with Kenny talking to young Stephen.
We're not going to get into any match tonight. No fighting match, okay? We're here to race and finish the race and get some points. I know you're a good competitor and you're a hard driver, and everybody's 110% behind you. So I just want you to know that. Everybody loves the hell out of you. You're a winner. Do not get into a fighting match with any race car tonight, and I will help you.
And for more information on communications among the drivers and spotters, you can log on to ESPN.com, search word communications. And DJ, that is so important to have someone like that, a calming voice that you can trust and the spotter staff.
Yeah, it really is, and that's great that Kenny takes that time to help out there. I was trying to look there to see if Kenny had a cell phone in the other hand and he was repeating what Rusty was saying from Indianapolis, if he was just doing that. But no, Kenny, it's great that he's able to help out as we get ready for the restart here.
Yeah, our buddy Rusty up there for live coverage, the 91st Indianapolis 500 coming your way tomorrow at noon on ABC, but he's watching intently tonight as we go back to green flag racing, and Matt Kenseth leads him down.
Biffle got a great start. He's passed 2 cars, I think, on that restart. And a lot of these guys, you'll want to try to get to the bottom, but Greg had no problem going to the outside down in turn 1, kept his momentum up, and was able to get by.
Really, that was pretty gutsy to go high this early in the race.
Yeah, but I think he's wanting to see right now if that's something that he can do later in the race. But if you can get that run and get your car to stick, you can get over on the quarter panel of that car that you're passing and get him slowed down, and he's not able to get back to the throttle.
Here is the battle for 5th position. That is Carl Edwards, our points leader. In the 60 car, he was trying to make a move to get inside of Kurt Busch. He couldn't get the inside lane and hold it. Now Busch is looking inside of Greg Biffle.
I'll tell you, this is very encouraging to see this upper groove coming in.
Boy, Busch slid way high. Once he got into that turn, he got in there a little hard, and he went all the way to the top for it.
Yeah, he did the slide job, but then Carl Edwards put it on him and actually took over the 4th spot.
Well, Greg Biffle had to jump in the brakes a little bit, or he'd have been back into that Penske Dodge, and fortunately he did, and everyone is none the worse for wear, except for the fact that gave Carl Edwards 2 spots. As you watch Matt Kenseth lead here in early laps, let's check in with Mike Massaro, who's caught up with David Rudiman.
Well, Dave, a rough weekend for Dave Rudiman continues. He had a problem in happy hour, didn't complete a single lap because of an altercation. Of course, he failed to qualify for the Coca-Cola 600. Now some overheating problems. I talked with crew chief Jerry Baxter. He seems to think it's a head gasket problem, but thinks there has no relation to the fact that they didn't get any practice in on Thursday afternoon. They're still working on the car. Doc?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, though, Mike, I would really kind of question that, because when they lost all that, when that side window went through that radiator, they lost all the water out of the engine, and it doesn't take long when you lose the water to lose a head gasket.
Yeah, as a driver, you're sitting there, and you don't really know what's happened, but you have water temp on your gauge because all the water's gone and it doesn't know that it's running hot yet. So he probably just flushed it out of there, and they didn't realize that, because as they got to working on it and getting the radiator out of it.
Here's a look at the 20 car of Denny Hamlin, last week's winner, or last time's winner in the Busch Series competition at Darlington a couple of weeks ago. Denny led 79 laps down there, trying to move up, and behind him the 6 car of David Reagan, and behind him Regan Smith. So drivers trying to march and use that inside groove here.
That was a great shot coming off of turn 4 there. These race cars are going everywhere in here. You see guys right on the bottom. Denny Hamlin's got his left side tires down on the white line or below it. You've got other guys that are utilizing the upper groove to try to make passes, and that's just what this racetrack and tire is allowing right now.
And just a couple of laps ago, I saw that 20 car scraping the wall. He was running so high. So he's trying every groove there is out there right now, making the bottom work.
Here's a battle, the 48 car that is reigning Nextel Cup champion Jimmy Johnson, making his very first Busch Series start of the season. And Nady's got a pretty good race car.
Yes, he does have a good race car, able to hold it down low on the racetrack. Kurt Busch, there was hanging on up on the outside, but it looks like, well, thought Johnson had him, but when you start off that corner, Dale, down on the inside, you get pinched down. You got to let up a lot of times.
Yeah, you know what you have to do and what slows you down, even though you can stay wide open in the gas probably, you have to turn the steering wheel more to stay off of that guy on the outside. And the guy on the outside is not turning the wheel as much, so he's getting a better run off the corner, just as you saw Kurt Busch do there. These guys are running, yeah, just right next to the wall. It's unbelievable. And it's going to be inevitable that with the hard tire, as they go into these corners and try to do that, somebody's going to get into the wall.
Well, we are being told in a moment ago the 2 car, the BB&T Chevy of Clint Boyer, did have some contact with the concrete here. Let's see if we can ride along with Clint on the onboard camera and see if he does get up there and scrape it.
Yeah, you're coming off the corner here, and you think you've got enough room, but there's about 3 feet to the wall there. There's just no rubber there whatsoever, and you get up there and you've got that momentum. You can see Clint, he's got the steering wheel turned, just barely scrapes it. I don't know that that was enough to do any harm.
Oh, no, that doesn't hurt anything. All that does is flatten that right side just a little bit, puts a white wall on the tire. He's good to go.
It probably even helps side force on the thing. He might have been trying to do that. We don't, he might be that smart.
Onboard camera with Clint Boyer looking back at the 37 car of Jamie McMurray, one of the Bruco's Motorsports machines, being shown back in the 13th position. We are in the early laps here at Lowe's Motor Speedway, NASCAR Busch Series competition. It has been a fun beginning here to racing in the Charlotte area.
Back at Lowe's Motor Speedway, looking down from the Goodyear blimp, and if you see high in the corner, there it is. Reed Sorensen has just hit the wall and brought the caution out for the 2nd time in this race. What has been
gauges here. Make sure you got oil pressure, water, and blow it up.
It's been a very difficult Busch Series season for Reed Sorensen so far, and that is not a picture of a season getting any better.
No, absolutely not. I mean, we're watching these race cars, Alan. They are sliding up the racetrack.
To the garage.
Dale Jarrett, I mean, are these guys just holding on? What's going on with these race cars?
Well, the biggest thing, it's not as much, Brad, the cars is what it is. The tire is just so hard for this racetrack, and probably for the Busch cars, it's even a little more so because they don't have the horsepower that the Cup cars have. So they're just searching around, trying to keep momentum. That's the biggest thing. As we see Reed Sorensen get into the corner here, he was about middle of the racetrack and trying to carry that speed. And all it takes is just a split second that you lose grip, whether it's the front or the back, and it looks like obviously there Reed lost the back. Those tires will start chattering, and you're trying to go, and next thing you know, it's out from under you. But these guys are just searching around, trying to keep that momentum up with these engines because they don't have that horsepower, and they can do that around the top. I talked to Jeff Burton the other day, and he said that's what he worked on the entire time as we have pit stops going on now.
All right, guys, 45 miles an hour as they head down pit road. The leader's headed toward you, Dave.
And the 6 car was back just a little bit, Jerry. Started falling backwards. Needs help getting off the corner from the center, just a little bit tight. They're going to make a track bar and air pressure adjustment for Dave Reagan. Shannon.
Jeff Burton says he is happy with his number 29 car. He's going to come in and take 4 tires. No changes. Mike?
Matt Kenseth described his car as peculiar because it was getting a lot looser than what he expected. They're going to make a chassis adjustment and a 4-tire change. Kurt Busch wins the race off pit road.
Yeah, great pit work by the Penske crew. Here's the race off. Here comes, watch the right side of your screen, Kenseth. It looks like it's he's not going to get it. And gets beaten off pit road. This is the first pit stop of the night due to the caution coming out here on lap 27 and Reed Sorensen's contact. Great action by courtesy of the crew can, Cameron Cobb and Jack. And back at Lowe's Motor Speedway, perfect timing as we go back to green flag racing here on lap 30. We were under caution for 3 laps due to Reed Sorensen's spin. And Kurt Busch, great pit work. They did not take tires on the Penske Dodge, and he was the first off of pit road. We'll see how that no tire strategy works for him.
I'll bet you this is an experiment that team planned to try it early in the race and see if it could get out there on these old tires and see how they would run. If it works, you'll see these guys doing it late in the race.
Battle for second place. Here comes the Ford of Matt Kenseth trying to move inside of Jeff Burton, and he will take the position away.
Yeah, it looks like all of them better start working on their cars if they're going to do anything with that 17 car tonight. Matt Kenseth seems to have it handling right on the bottom, able to get back in the gas extremely hard. And, his car's just, you see it bottom out a little bit there going into turn 3. So that means they got the air pressure down, and as that builds up, you'll see that go away.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth led the first 28 laps tonight from the pole, and here's a battle for 4th. And this Regan Smith in the 4 car, he is getting better and better as he's getting experience. Now, this young man has really got some talent.
Yes, he has, Jerry. I've watched him all year long, and he just seems to continue to get better every week. But apparently he didn't take 4 tires. He might have taken 2 or maybe no tires like Kurt Busch because he got a good track position.
Now we're about to see how the tire strategy is working as you see the 17 car move right up underneath the 12 of Busch.
Yeah, but it's an interesting strategy that Kurt Busch and his guys are playing out right now to see what that will do at this time. This is the time to find out about those things, because if it works well enough, then they can do that later on. You can see him hang tough right there, but Matt Kenseth's Ford is just awful strong.
So the idea probably is not to see if you can hang on to the lead, but how closely to the leaders you can stay, I guess, with no tires.
Hey, you want to stay there, see what your car drives like. You know, if they come down to a green flag situation, do they need and have to make a pit stop late in the race? Do they need to change tires, or can they leave these on? Or if it comes down to that situation of even pitting under the caution and they have to do something strategy-wise, will their car be good enough to do that?
Would it also possibly be a test for tomorrow night?
You know, that, yeah, absolutely. See what they can do. You know, these guys are learning everything that they can, not just for tonight and trying to win this race, but to see what will work for tomorrow night. Kurt Busch has got this thing right up against the wall coming out of turn 4, as you see right here. Jeff Burton was trying to pass him, and he's pulled away from him for a couple of car lengths.
That's the one thing I've seen is that 12 car has been committed to the top line of the racetrack from the start of the race, and he's been making it work really well. And, man, he really pulled away from the 29 car.
Well, with more on the Regan Smith car, let's check in with Dave.
And just real quick, guys, to answer your question, they did take on 2 right side tires for the 4 car. His car was a little bit loose, but he didn't want any adjustments on an air pressure or chassis wise, so they made no changes. 2 right side tires on the Army car.
Young man doing a heck of a job. And speaking of a heck of a job, a moment ago, Casey Mears in his Chevrolet did a miraculous job of saving the car. He nearly won this race last May. Let's see what kind of handful he had here in the turn.
You can see him right in the center of the corner, get back to the gap. Wow.
That's some dirt tracking right there.
That's good on dirt track, isn't it? Yeah, that's a great save right there. Young man has a lot of talent. But you can see when he got back to the gas really hard, and his tires apparently just haven't come up to the pressures that he's looking for yet. The car got extremely loose, and he did a great job of saving.
And folks, that was about 182 miles an hour that he was turning the steering wheel left and right and hanging onto that car about 1.5 foot in the wall. Great job by Casey Mears.
Yeah, we see Denny Hamlin and Carl Edwards here. 2 different lines there. You see Carl Edwards is pretty much committed to the bottom, and Denny Hamlin in the 20 car has been committed to the top, and I mean the very top. He's right up against the wall and making a lot of time, and he really gets a run through the center and off the corner. And you're going to see him pass Regan Smith there now, just utilizing the horsepower that he has under the hood.
Looks like he's educating that 60 car Carl Edwards a little bit. He's able to watch it. Carl's able to watch him go through the corner, how he's making that work. He's probably going to try it some too.
Yeah, and I guess there is better traction up there, or they wouldn't be up there. Would the fact that they're as close as they're running to the wall, would it not have gotten as hot this afternoon in the sun as other parts of the track?
That's a very real possibility. We see Kyle Busch here making work on the bottom as he passes Jamie McMurray in the 37 car. But that's a good point, Daddy. Yeah, very easily could have not got quite as hot. But you know, they're just looking for somewhere here to make it work. And again, keep that momentum with these engines and carburetors.
Well, Kyle Busch is on the march now, trying to get back toward the front. Mike Massaro.
Well, Doc, as you mentioned, this is a backup car for Kyle Busch, and I spoke with both Kyle and Alan Gustafson yesterday, and both of them very concerned about this backup car, feeling that it was not nearly as good as their primary car. Adding to the problems, they were never able to get it on the track for practice. This morning, though, they were able to come in 2 hours early to start switching over the setup on this car. They were here at 10 a.m. trying to do what takes normally all day in about 5 hours, but they were leaving a lot to chance not having it on the track for any practice.
Thank you, Mike. Kyle Busch now moving up into 14th position. The 21-year-old driver from Las Vegas, Nevada, has led more laps than anyone this year, but is still searching for that elusive first NASCAR Busch Series win on the season.
And his brother, of course, is another racer.
Of course.
Yeah.
Didn't you just recently crash into each other?
We certainly did, yes. We had a pretty hard battle going. He didn't give me much room, and we ended up crashing each other
And
out.
so do you talk about that afterwards? Do your parents get involved?
Not yet. You know, we were going after $1 million, so.
Well, sure, why not?
Might as well wreck each other, right?
Kyle Busch down in New Orleans on Regis and Kelly on Tuesday. Of all places he figured he'd have to talk about crashing or racing with his brother, with Regis and Kelly. Kyle running 14th right now at our aerial coverage, brought to you by Goodyear, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for the past 25 years. Now, the other Busch brother has recently gone back to the point, Brad.
Yeah, he has, Alan. And I'll tell you what, he didn't take any tires during that last caution, and he's gotten in that high groove. Matt Kenseth has a super strong race car, and I thought he'd be able to hold him off. But I'm going to tell you, old Kurt Busch is on a rail, and that car is toting the mail, baby.
And some of these guys in the garage talk about that these tires don't lose any speed while you run. And guys upstairs, even though Kurt didn't change tires, he certainly hasn't given anything up on the stopwatch.
And Alan, he is sailing right now. It has been a good weekend for Penske Racing. They swept the both spots on the front row for the Coca-Cola 600. And of course, Kurt Busch in a brand new race car. Now back up toward the front as we check in his pits with Shannon.
Kurt Busch currently fighting for the first place position. His crew chief Matthew Gimbel just came over the radio and told Kurt that he is the fastest car on the track right now. Kurt says that his car is getting a little tight in turn 3. You'll remember he did not take tires on that last pit stop.
It looked to me like the experiment was working well till he just grazed the wall right there.
Yeah, the other guy up on top of the racetrack is Denny Hamlin, as we pointed out earlier, and he's making that work. He's got a battle going on right now for second as he tries to pass Matt Kenseth to go 3 wide down the backstretch. But Denny's in a good spot right there. That's where he wanted to be, carrying his momentum, and you can see that he's catching Kurt Busch just a little bit, and probably because Kurt got a little bit tight. We heard him say he's a little tight and got into the wall in the middle of 3 and 4 last lap.
And let's show you what happened just a moment ago to Kurt Busch up against it. You heard Shannon talking about it being tight. It wouldn't turn very well as he got right against the concrete.
That was a little too close. I don't believe he did any harm on it, though.
Still clear? You all right? Yeah, I got.
Yeah, that's just a light enough hit that I don't think it hurt the car any. They just got to watch out for a tire, maybe a possible tire rub. Looks pretty clean, though. I've been watching him. I don't see any smoke.
He has slowed down since that on his lap time, so I'm sure that he's just filling things out a little bit. But Denny Hamlin hadn't slowed down much.
Yeah, that's the guy you better watch for. Denny Hamlin in the last 4 laps has gained a second on the lead cars, and now he has moved all the way to second position and moving in on him. There's the 12 car of Busch. There's Hamlin up high in the Joe Gibbs car, the 20 car that was so dominant the last time out at Darlington.
Now, with both those drivers liking that high line, what's he going to do when he catches him? Because Kurt Busch, he likes that high line too. He's not going to give it up.
Yeah, and Matt Kenseth's not giving up on the bottom yet. I think he thinks that his tires will eventually be better than these guys if we continue to have a long run. So he's staying right on his game plan, and that's right around the bottom.
Man, I love it when you got more than one groove to race on. Looks like we got about 3 good grooves we can race on tonight.
Yeah.
And with more on Matt Kenseth, let's check in his pits with Mike. Whoa, 3 wide.
And Matt Kenseth may be running pretty strong, third, and now making a bid for the lead. But believe it or not, just 5 laps ago, he radioed in saying that he's 90% sure that he has a tire going down. Since then, his team has been perched up on top of the pit wall, just waiting to see if the 17 would come down pit road. Guys?
I think the only tire he might have going down will be the one in the trunk, because I think those other 4 I think they're working pretty good.
Oh, that's great racing there. And as you said, Andy, you were talking about it. It's fun to watch racing like this. As a driver, it's fun too, because that's what we want, be able to move around on the racetrack and make a difference as a driver in the car.
Now, how much can you see? If say you're Matt Kenseth, you're on the bottom of the racetrack and you're turning it, can you?
Real tight in the center.
Can you see the 20 car to the side?
Yeah, your peripheral vision allows you to see a little bit of that, but I'm sure that he's using a lot of it by feel. He knows pretty much where that 20 car is, and his spotter is probably giving him a little bit of an idea. Hey, the 20's got that run. He's coming back. You see Matt go in the bottom here. He can get up close to side with him. He gets back in the gas, but the 20 gets such a run off the corner. But he obviously can see him out of the front right there and know that he's got just enough room to slide in behind him.
I just wonder how long Matt's going to watch that before he tries it. Because we see him, he's just been committed to the bottom lane of that racetrack, and now here we got Denny Hamlin trying the bottom.
Well, like Dad said, you know, when he got to Kurt Busch, what was he going to do? He's running the same line, and it probably took some air off the nose of his car. He picked up a push in the center, so he's going to see if he can go to the bottom and make that work.
Well, we talk about the fact that these Goodyear tires should last quite a while. Kurt Busch putting into the test here again just a moment ago. He gets up into the outside wall.
Well, the tread might be holding up pretty good, but I believe he's going to wear the sidewalls out on if he keeps doing this.
Maybe they forgot to tell him this is Charlotte, not Darlington.
Watch Denny Hamlin now ease in. Now watch Busch will tap the wall, and there's Hamlin said, okay, if you can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah, there's just such a fine line there. If you're going to commit yourself to that high groove, getting into the corner, you know, it's easy to overdrive because it feels like you can drive on in there. But you've got such, again, a hard tire, and there's nothing wrong with this tire. It's just hard. I'm not saying that Goodyear's done a bad job or anything like that. It's just a harder tire, and so yeah, it takes a little getting. These guys are used to it. I was going to say getting used to it. They know that, but you're right on the edge so much that any little bit of a slip like that, and you're going to find yourself up into the wall, especially when you commit yourself to running in that high.
Man, this is like the old days with you and Junior Johnson and those guys here used to come here and you sort of just scrape that wall around the corner.
Well, Darlington in particular, yeah. And here you would, coming off the turns, 2 and 4 in particular, you get awfully close to it and scrape it on a lot of occasions, but we never ran that high all the way around the racetrack.
And now we see Jeff Burton coming up here, and he's going to be a player. And I was talking to Jeff last night. We were both downtown Charlotte at a Coke appearance, and I was asking him about his car, and he was telling me how you have to start these Busch cars so loose because if you don't, they'll start pushing about 10 laps into a run. I think Jeff Burton was just saving his tires, knew what he had later on. He probably was extremely loose, and now his car is coming in, and he's going to be a factor as they've run now about 30 laps.
All right, we are 59 laps into 200 here. $1.25 million up for grabs, and we have had all kinds of action here at Lowe's Motor Speedway under the lights thus far tonight.
As part of this Memorial Weekend commemoration, many teams, both the NASCAR Busch Series and NASCAR Nextel Cup Series here at the Speedway, putting the logos and the insignias of the Armed Forces divisions on their cars and uniforms. Remember those who have served and are serving in defense of our freedoms. Part of that freedom allows us to enjoy some NASCAR racing from Charlotte on this Memorial Weekend, and right now Kurt Busch is the man in command of this event as we are coming up on the 67th lap. That's 100 miles, a third of the way in. Let's get you up to speed on how some of the front runners are doing. We go to pit road, starting with Shannon Spake.
Kurt Busch driving that number 12 car says he is really loose. When they come into pit, they're going to check that right side fender to make sure there was no damage when he brushed the wall.
It appears that Kenseth's concerns about his tire may be fading away. Still running pretty strong up in second, and his team has now gotten off the pit wall. They feel pretty confident that all the tires are fine.
Jeff Burton currently running third in the 29 car. He started this run very loose. Now he is too tight.
This is a racetrack where Jimmy Johnson has had extreme success. 5 victories here in the Cup side of things, including 3 consecutive Coca-Cola 600 victories. So it's no surprise he would elect to run this race in the Busch Series. It's a backup car for the 24 of Casey Mears, and he's running pretty strong in 4th. Dave?
Right behind him, Regan Smith running in 5th. He's fallen back from the restart, restarted second, but remember he only took on 2 right side tires. The main concern for Regan right now, starting to get a little too loose, arcing into the corner. The crew reminded him, remember, if we adjust that, you might be too tight coming off the corner. Regan said, I'll live with it then. Mike?
Just after scraping the wall several laps ago, Denny Hamlin started beating himself up a little bit, blaming himself. Since then, he's fallen from 3rd all the way to 6th and still does not have any forward momentum.
Scott Wimmer in that 21 car, that is the championship car from last season. He qualified second. He's currently running 7th. He says he feels like this car still has momentum from the championship. Carl Edwards currently running 8th. He has John Cena in his pit stall this week as his honorary crew chief. Just a little funny note, John Cena tried to put on the t-shirt of one of his crew members, was not able to fit. They had to cut off the sleeves. Dave?
And running right behind Carl Edwards, the 9 car of Casey Kane. Restarted 21st, going to the front. They made an adjustment. The car is still just a little bit tight. They plan a track bar adjustment to adjust that chassis when Casey comes into pit lane. Mike?
Give a shout out to the team of Kyle Busch. This team came in 2 hours early this morning to turn over a new setup on this backup car. He started 16th and he's up to the top 10 and still moving forward.
And you are up to speed with how the top 10 are running. Got to be impressed with that drive through the pack by Casey Kane so far, but it's Kurt Busch out in front. Did not take tires on his pit stop at lap number 28. He's the man in command, just past a third of the distance.
It looks like the Penske cars and the Ganassi cars are really close.
Well, I mean, I drive for the legendary Roger Penske, so I would be stupid if I didn't go with one of his 3 cars.
But one would be really pissed if I picked somebody else in the team.
I would say probably Weldon. He's pretty much dominated the whole season.
I'd say for the winner of the 500, I'd pick Sam Hornish. I'm going to have to go with Kurt Busch.
I think Elio's got the smarts and the know-how.
Kurt Busch is obviously a very nice guy.
I believe Reed is going to take it.
We're looking for a team target Chip Ganassi Racing sweep this weekend.
Well, pole sitter and 2-time Indy 500 winner Elio Castroneves leads the field to the green flag at the 91st running of the Indianapolis 500 on ABC Sunday. Can Castroneves deny defending race champion and teammate Sam Hornish Jr. from repeating, or will someone else take the checkered flag and drink the milk at the Brickyard? The 91st running of the Indianapolis 500 telecast presented by GoDaddy.com on ABC Sunday. Coverage begins at noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific.
Well, Jerry, you've been up there quite a few years. What's your take on this?
I tell you, the Penske teams are so good. Hornish won it a year ago. Elio's won it twice. You know, the first 2 times he was there. The Ganassi teams, I mean, Chip Ganassi's cars are just great there. But you know what? I think Andretti Green's got a great chance. Tony Kanaan reminds me a little bit of Mark Martin. So focused, just so determined. I think Kanaan's really going to give him a fit. And Danica Patrick was very good in practice. So I think it could be a lot of contenders there for that Indy 500 this year. And one contender that's rapidly becoming a factor here is the 9 car of Casey Kane. Now, Casey Kane, who won both the Nextel Cup events here a year ago, started this night back in 32nd position, driving the Dodge for Ray Evernham. And guys, Casey Kane is now driven all the way up to 6th spot.
Yeah, he's going to be up there rattling some cages here in a minute. I'll tell you, we've been watching him, and he's working that high groove, and that car is moving up to the front.
In the last 6 or 7 laps, he has gained 2 seconds on the leader.
Just we talked about him being up on top. There he goes around the bottom. So obviously, it's a pretty good race car. You can take it wherever you need to get around traffic, and that's what you have to have. Obviously, we've seen Casey Kane a number of times at a lot of different tracks, including this one, get himself up to the top of the racetrack and use that momentum to move forward.
And with more on Casey Kane, let's check in his pits with Dave.
And Doc, when you check in with the crew chiefs, you get a sense for how things are going by how they're working with their engineer and how their attitude is to you. Now, from the way he was working with his engineer, crew chief Mike Shiplett, looked like the car was really not that good. But when I asked him, just a little tight on the first run, are you sure? And he goes, yeah, it's really pretty good. You could tell from his attitude that he knew this car was going to go forward, and that's exactly what Casey's done since the last restart.
Boy, Casey Kane could really use a good run here. He has run 6 races this year. His best finish was 7th at Atlanta. This car he's driving here finished 28th at Texas. He hasn't had a lot of luck this year, but hopefully he can turn it around on a track that was awfully good to him a year ago.
As we look around here, we see Casey there up against the wall again and running his group. There are cars everywhere on this racetrack, from the bottom, middle, to the top of the racetrack. And I think it's just wherever your car feels the best to you and where you can keep that momentum going. We see Kurt Busch here now.
Kurt Busch has about a 2-second advantage over the second place car of Jimmy Johnson. And it's remarkable. We are now showing 83 laps, and he still has the same 4 good years that he started when they cranked him up and came to the green flag.
Yeah, Jerry, I made the comment last week that I'm not sure that in this race you couldn't run this on 2 sets of tires. Because I was getting to the point of the 600 tomorrow night, that I believe if you change tires every 100 miles, that you wouldn't have a problem. And that's so unusual for what we normally want to do here. It'd be changing tires every time you could.
Yeah, that's one of the advantages when you have a hard tire, and this tire really is too hard for this racetrack, but it does open up a lot of possibilities. And we heard Kurt Busch talking about his team was going to try some different strategies, and now I think he's kind of gives us a little wind into that what they're talking about.
Yeah, as we see Scott Wimmer and Carl Edwards battling for 8th here. We saw Carl, he stuck it out as long as he could running down to the bottom, and we see him moved up the race. He's moved up the racetrack here now to see if he can make that work a little bit better.
All right, crew chief Andy Petrie, we're about 5 laps away from our second pit stop of the night. What are you thinking if you've been on that pit box watching these guys, 2 distinct grooves here on the racetrack?
Well, Jerry, I think we're a few more than 5 away, but I'll tell you that, these guys, the guys that are running the top of the racetrack, I'm sure their cars are handling different than the guys on the bottom. And these guys are probably looking at it too, thinking, if I'm going to run the top, I got to have my car driving different. And it looks like that top groove is working for a lot of guys, so probably a lot of chatter on the radio about how to change their car to make it work up there.
Now, everybody knew that after a while this track surface would cool off because it's very hot when we started, and it's probably getting to that point now, Dale, where what you anticipated, maybe it's there as far as the track temperature is concerned.
Yeah, these guys are sitting there right now. They know that they're not too far away from a pit stop, but they're really wishing that they had a caution to make those adjustments that they could make. Everybody except for guys like Kurt Busch and Jimmy Johnson, who seem to really have their cars working extremely well, and Casey Kane right now. But they're going to have to make some kind of adjustment, and as we get to that time, you look at how well Kurt Busch is running. Is he going to consider just 2 tires? Because that left side tire is the one that's so hard. Is he going to think about just needing right?
All right, here's Regan Smith in front of you, Dave.
And he gives up 6th position. Doc comes in early, takes on 4 tires this time. Remember, only 2 last time. Slight air pressure adjustment, little trouble on the left front. And he was complaining just a little too loose getting in, but a slight air pressure adjustment. Bobby Labonte also on and off pit road in the 77 car.
So pit stops a little bit earlier than we maybe would have anticipated in the 90-lap range. And why push the window up a little bit, Andy?
Well, I'll tell you one thing we're looking at, and I probably didn't take in consideration, is how these guys run that top groove, and they're using a lot of throttle. These cars not getting the gas mileage that you would anticipate, so that's probably why they're in. They're in at about 60 laps here, and I would have thought they could go maybe 65 or even a little bit farther, but I guess we're using a lot of throttle.
Yeah, they're using a lot of throttle because they're back in the gas, and we see Jimmy Johnson on pit road now. Mike, you have more with the 48 car?
That's right, DJ. Well, this team told me that during the 2 practice sessions on Thursday, they were real good in the first one, but struggled mightily in the second one. It didn't seem to show itself in qualifying. They were pretty strong, but Jimmy says the car really starts loose, but then eventually comes to them. They're going to make a 4-tire change and no major adjustments to the chassis.
Lance McGrew and the company there getting Jimmy Johnson down, his first NASCAR Busch Series start of the year at a track that he has basically almost had renamed Johnsonville. He's won 5 Nextel Cup events in the last 8 races here, but he hasn't had the same kind of luck in the Busch car.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, this is the time of the race that you got to anticipate what this track's going to do. It's already changed a little bit, and these guys got to anticipate some more change and maybe work on those cars a little bit for what's going to happen instead of what's happened so far.
Yeah, we're seeing wholesale pit stops now, so these guys have to be at that window. Dave, you got more with the 33?
Yeah, Kevin Harvick's car was tight earlier tonight, DJ, and then during this run, stupid tight. He was very angry with the way that car was operating. They're going to make big changes on the 33 chassis and air pressure adjustments for Kevin. And slow on the left side, and now spending a lot of time on pit road. They may be working out a spring rubber from the left rear there. That may be what took them the time. Mike?
There's been some concern in the 17 pit stall for quite some time. Matt Kenseth radioed in not too long ago saying he was 90% sure he had a tire going down. Yet he maintained his position on the racetrack. Still very concerned, perplexed, confused as to what was happening with the tire. They'll make a 4-tire change, and he'll hope to get that feel back in the race car. This is Shannon.
Kurt Busch pulls his car into his pit stop. They had talked about doing a 2-tire stop. They are going to check that right side fender. They are going for a 4-tire stop. They're going to check that right side fender to make sure there's no damage from the rubbing. And they're going to do a track bar adjustment because Kurt says he's a little tight.
And the crew waving there, a concern over the 12 pit stop, Andy, as you're watching the 29 here of Jeff Burton. As Burton leaves, here comes Casey Kane in front of Dave.
And Casey Kane will get 4 tires this time, Doc. Just got a report that they need to make a chassis adjustment for Casey's car. Just a slight bit tight, but really not bad. They make the adjustment flying around this car, trying to keep Casey in the track position he gained on the track. Remember, this race was, he did not gain them on pit road. He's been passing cars, and now he leaves again. Mike.
Clint Bowyer running awfully strong this evening, although just like everybody else has to start the car off extremely loose so that the car will come to him. This racetrack has tightened up significantly since the start of the race. Track temperature about 92 degrees. Remember, during qualifying it was about 140. 4 tires for Clint Bowyer.
Yeah, and the 12 car is back on pit road.
3, 2, 1. Stop it on the side. Wheels straight. Foot on the brake. Hold, hold, hold. Go, go, go.
Mercy, and they were not able to get him water.
The 12 car of Kurt Busch was leaving pit road a moment ago, Andy, and you saw the crew members waving frantically. Obviously, they had trouble getting it full of fuel, and then they also had some sheet metal they wanted to repair.
Yeah, it might be a lug nut here. If these guys don't get all the lug nuts on, they got an official standing right over his shoulder. You see him waving his hand, meaning, hey, I don't have them all on. The crew, the NASCAR official there has seen it and made him come back in.
Yeah, and it was good on that tire changer's part. You know, I'm sure that the NASCAR official was going to see it, but that crew member wasn't going to let them go out there with whether it was 3 or 4 tight at that time and put Kurt Busch in that situation. So it's unfortunate. He's got a fast race car, but now they're in a hole.
Well, one thing we talked about at the start of the show is not making mistakes late in the race. This may be early enough, and he's got a fast enough race car that maybe he can make up for it. But if he makes a mistake like that late in the race, it'll doom him.
But even at this point of the race, Andy, he'll need a caution flag to be able to get back.
Well, he will have to have some help, but he's got a fast enough race car that he can probably make it up.
And we were talking about why these guys might be in a little bit earlier, and you were talking about the fuel mileage being back in the throttle and up around the top of the racetrack. You know, they're making a longer racetrack than 1.5 miles out of the racetrack being up there, because it's actually measured. I think it's about 15 feet off the wall is where this 1.5 miles is measured. And so they're running, I don't know exactly what it would be, but it's obviously longer than that, so they have to factor that in some.
As we see Scott Wimmer, the 21, Denny Hamlin coming on the pit road. We'll mention the 66 has to come back in with a missing left front lug nut. Let's check in the 21 pit. Shannon.
Scott Wimmer pulled his number 21 car in. Looks like they're going to go for a 4-tire change and fuel. He is driving in the same car that won the championship last year. Looks like they did a wedge adjustment as well, guys. Mike?
Denny Hamlin seems to have hit something recently. 3 top 5 finishes in his last 4 races, although not too long into the first part of this race, made a big mistake. You can see that big scraping mark on the left side of that car. That's because he hit the wall. He was blaming himself. Still awfully a scarred race car, but a very clean pit stop for Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, it looks like his car is okay. You know, he scraped that wall, but I don't see a lot of damage on it. We heard him maybe on his radio earlier say that his steering wheel was off, so you got to kind of be concerned about maybe the toe end being off or something like that, but it looks pretty clean from here.
And there's a leader, J.J. Yaley, driving for James Finch in the Chevrolet. J.J. Yaley is one of the cars who is now waving to cars behind him to say, I'm slowing down because I'm going to head the pit road. And I guess the sign language is very important at any track, particularly here where you're running so quick coming through 4.
Yeah, absolutely. Letting those guys, especially those guys that have tires, they'll get up to you in a hurry. And you just want to let them know that you're going to be coming into the pits off of turn 4, because a lot of the guys will be coming around as we see the crew go to work on the pit stop here. I'm sure they were trying to stay out there as long as they could to see if they could get a caution maybe and get themselves a little better track position.
J.J. Yaley finished 3rd here last year, had a great run here in the NASCAR Busch Series event at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Having a good run tonight. Good pit stop by Chuck Myers and the Finch crew as he's down and away, as we are just a lap away from the halfway point.
Yeah, those guys elected to take 2 tires there. I wondered if some of the other guys might elect to do that. We'll see how that works out for the crew. They seem to be on pit road a little bit longer just for 2 tires that seem to have maybe a hard time getting the fuel in it. As we look at our leader now, Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, it takes a while to get that fuel in there, and I wouldn't have done that there. I believe I'd have put 4 tires on just for that reason, because it takes a while to get the fuel in. Might as well get the tires too.
Yeah, that's a sight that we've seen here quite often, not necessarily in the Busch Series, as Jerry was saying earlier, but in the Cup Series. This man is on this racetrack.
Well, they call it Lowe's Motor Speedway, and how appropriate here at halfway tonight in this very first NASCAR Busch Series start. It is the Lowe's Chevrolet for Jimmy Johnson showing the way. Back in just a moment.
Jimmy Johnson wins his second straight Coke 600.
Jimmy Johnson wins the UAW GM Quality 500.
It's the Charlotte Sweep. Jimmy Johnson, 48 car. He did it. 4 in a row at Lowe's.
Boy, I don't know how you guys can say domination, but I'll say it. Yeah, domination.
Jimmy Johnson certainly has seen his share of success here at Lowe's Motor Speedway, the track his race car sponsor also sponsors, and he's out in front now, just past halfway of tonight's NASCAR Busch Series race. But check out the left front fender there. Things, how should I say this? There's a little wrinkle in Johnson's approach to the race right now. Tim Brewer's down at the Chevy cutaway car. Tim, what's the damage? What are you seeing when you watch this?
Well, in a little cutaway car, Alan, we don't have a left front fender, but what the critical area is the air dam area down here. Now, the sparks you've seen coming off the lower left front over there is probably attributed to low air pressure. But anytime you affect the air dam here, or this area around here, that corrects the airflow over the top of the car, creates downforce in the front, is really critical to these race cars and is significant to the speed value. Back over to you, Al.
So it'll be interesting to see as they put some laps on this set of tires and maybe they give up a little grip if that loss of downforce on that left front fender brings Jimmy back to the pack a little bit, Mr. Daugherty.
Yeah, and you know, I'm noticing also on that left front tire, that rotor is extremely red. I mean, we're not at Martinsville or Bristol. I want to ask Andy Petrie, why is that rotor getting so hot at this mile-and-a-half racetrack?
Hey, Brad, you're right. I've been watching that, too. We see him go in the corner and that rotor just light up. I think it might be telling us a little bit about his driving style here, Dale. I mean, is this something that we might even find out what he's doing here?
Yeah, we might have gone into some of his secret here, just haven't paid attention long enough. You know, Jimmy gets around here extremely well. I guarantee you, you're going to pay attention tomorrow night to the Coca-Cola 600. You're probably going to see some front rotors red from guys trying that, if that's how this guy gets around here. You know, we all have different things that we do at different tracks, and he may have found that helps him keep the nose planted to where he can get back to the throttle sooner. So he's probably got his left foot on the brake some going into the corner, and that allows him to get his right foot on the gas a little bit quicker. So he might be utilizing both of them there. It works awfully well. It may be happening, and it's odd to see it happening here, but you can't argue with the success that man's had at this racetrack.
Well, guys, for more information on fenders bent in and the kind of rubbing, log on to ESPN.com. Search word safety. And speaking of hot breaks and hot topics of the last couple of weeks, one of the hottest topics, you see the 88 car that's owned by Dale Earnhardt Jr. And it's not this car or this driver, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. who has been the hot topic the last few weeks. And Ned Jarrett, you and his dad, Dale Earnhardt Sr., were very close. In fact, you helped Dale Sr. buy his first asphalt car to help him get off the dirt. And I'll ask you in just a moment here about...
Just stay there. Just stay there.
Spin here on the track.
Yeah, I think that's Carl Edwards.
That is our points leader, Carl Edwards, bringing out caution number 3 here.
And this will be a break for Kurt Busch. I believe he was in line to...
Kevin Harvick had just got lapped. Kurt
he had, okay.
Trying to battle for that, but Kevin Harvick just got a lap down.
Your left rear is completely down.
I'll tell you what, Carl Edwards was extremely lucky not to hit anything, and he doesn't have any damage yet if he can get this car back to the pits without the tires coming apart.
Yeah, he's got 3 flat tires. I think you can see the right front over there. So it looks like and I believe I saw when the car was sitting that the right rear was flat. So I think the only tire up on that car is the left front right now. So he'll have to be extremely careful. This situation that if he goes too long, that one of these tires blows out, he'll do a lot of damage to the body.
Yeah, we've seen these tires come flying apart and just destroy the body.
Let's see if we can see what happened to Carl in that left rear tire as he just comes off the corner.
Well, that thing just jumped sideways there pretty early on exit. It looks like well, we know the left rear tire was up, but it still is, but well, that thing just jumped out from under him.
Fortunately, he was by himself. No one close to him.
Did a great job of keeping it on the wall.
Lock it down there, lock it down, lock it down.
Yeah.
All right, just stay there, just stay there.
As you said, they did a nice job keeping it off the wall. How much control do you have when a car is sideways like that at 180 miles an hour? Can you steer it at all, DJ?
you know, you do what you can as a driver. You battle it to the very end. I like to think, and I'll give Carl credit for being able to do that. In my case, I consider it luck if I don't hit something and I don't get hit. So, but Carl did a great job there. I'll give him credit.
All right, under caution for the third time of night, coming out on lap 112. We are now on lap 113, and here they come, feeding time at the zoos. They are all on pit road for pit stops. Dave.
And Casey Kane, those tires going on the right side, that will be all that he puts on this car. He said, I wouldn't do too much to it. It's only getting better, but they're having trouble on the right-hand side. They only wanted to take 2. This should have been a fast stop, but all kinds of difficulty for Casey. Shannon.
Jeff Burton's been fighting a loose race car. They're going to take 2 right side tires. He's also having a hard time hearing his crew chief on the radio. Mike?
And the sledgehammer is out and going to work on the left front fender of Jimmy Johnson's car. They'll bang that out, trying to drag it off the tire. They're still pulling away, trying to free it from the rubber. Jimmy Johnson away after a 4-tire change.
And they come off of pit road. Jimmy Johnson's crew able to get that fender pulled away, so a break for our leader here. We will come back with more from Lowe's Motor Speedway in just a moment. And we welcome you back to Lowe's Motor Speedway. Under caution for the third time tonight. A spin by our points leader, Carl Edwards. A cut or a left rear tire that was flat. And everyone has been on and off pit road. We were just getting ready to ask Ned Jarrett about one of the hot topics of the last couple of weeks was Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s decision to leave DEI. And I know you and his dad, Dale Sr., were very good friends. You helped Dale Sr. buy his first asphalt car, Ned. If Dale Sr. were here today, what do you think he would think about the kind of young man Dale Jr. has become, the kind of driver he's become, and the tough decision he just had to make?
Well, I think he, first of all, will be very proud of what Dale Jr. has done and the race driver that he's become, and also the contribution that he's made to the sport along the way. Whether he would approve of him leaving or not, I think under the circumstances he probably would, because Junior wants to get in a position where he can be his own man. He wants to build his own legacy instead of being always in the shadows of his dad.
And it's very difficult to follow in the footsteps of a father who has such a legacy like DJ.
Well, it is, but Dale Jr., just as Dad said, he's ready to make his mark here. You know, he certainly appreciates what his family has done for him and what his name has done for him, but he's ready to go out here and do things the way that he thinks he needs to do to further his career and make him a champion in this sport.
Well, very difficult decisions lie ahead for Dale Earnhardt Jr. as to what he will do, and the lottery continues as to where he will go. As you look at Kyle Busch, lead him down for the restart here with just 83 laps to go at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Yeah, we got a new guy up front with Kyle Busch. He must have pulled off a little bit of strategy here to get his car up front. And boy, I'll tell you, you know how important it is to get that clean air on the front of your car.
And that's probably exactly what they were wanting to see. How good is their car if they can get it out front, and that'll help them make decisions as they go forward through the rest of this race.
Well, here comes Matt Kenseth down on the inside. He is particularly good on new tires.
And Jeff Burton up on the high side. Now, Burton was running the low groove, now has gone up high and will go by or attempt to go by. Yeah, he does make the pass on the 5 car of Kyle Busch.
You know, we'd heard Jeff say earlier that his car was extremely loose on restarts and when they had changed tires. Looks like they fixed some of that. It'll be interesting to see if the car will hold on now that he's got it where it'll run a little bit faster out in the low air pressure.
See some more sparks flying off the corner on the right side of these cars. We got some of these guys that are behind these leaders trying to get in position to get their lap back and be the lucky dog. And I think some of those sparks are coming from those guys.
Yeah, right now as they run, you can see the 42 car. He is the first car that is 1 lap down at this point in time. Kurt Busch is back behind him. And you might ask what happened. They had a problem on the green flag pit stop. Had to come back in and put some lug nuts on. So that got Kurt a lap down, even though he had been leading the race and pretty much dominating there for a while.
And up until about 3 laps before this caution came out, he was the man in position to get the lucky dog. But at that same time, the leader lapped Kevin Harvick, so he's the man that got it.
So we are showing 16 cars on the lead lap with Kevin Harvick as the last car on the lead lap. And here's a battle shaping up for 6th position as Greg Biffle in the 16 is all over Jimmy Johnson's Chevrolet.
Jimmy Johnson was leading the race, but they came in, had a little tire rub on the left front, and his guys took a little extra time to clearance that left front so he wouldn't have to mess with it later in the race and not have a problem later.
as fast as they run here, that had to have some effect on the way that car drove.
Yeah, as we were watching times, even though he was leading the race, they made a great pit stop. I think he got him. And you can see Jimmy extremely loose right there getting into the corner. And we heard him talk earlier about how his car was loose on the new tires. It took it some time to come in. And we had a long green flag run a while ago. But what I was getting to, Jimmy's car wasn't the fastest car on the racetrack, but they had made a great pit stop. He did a terrific job getting on and off pit road, and it got himself a pretty good lead. But he wasn't the best car, so they needed to work on that.
Well, we talked earlier where Casey Kane had come all the way from 32nd starting spot to find himself in the top 10. And right now, after that latest pit stop, Dave, he's being shown in 4th position.
I know, and Doc, it seems like, wow, it sounded like Dave thought he had a lot of problems on pit road. He should be running a lot further back. But remember, when Brian Jacobson went to put on this right front tire, not one lug nut popped off, but 2. He had to reach down twice and put the right front tire back on. That cost him a lot of time on pit road, and they only took on 2 right sides. So the other guys took on 4. They actually restarted in the same place they came down pit road, but they have a lot less fresher tires on the left-hand side. Mike Shiplett is calm now, the crew chief, but he was livid. They had a chance to gain spots, and instead they just held their ground.
Yeah, Dave, that was an opportunity for these guys to get up front and get the lead, and that's what they wanted. That's what Mike Shiplett wanted for his guys, but it's a good thing that they weren't changing 4 tires and committed to 4 tires, because they would have lost a ton of track position after a mistake like that.
Yeah, that's a great point, and you're exactly right. They could have been well back in the pack and had to battle back again. So they're still in 4th. They've got 2 tires on, and we've seen that 2 tires or no tires is not a bad thing. I think right now Casey's probably just a little bit loose, and as we see Clint Boyer go to the inside of him right now. But I would look for that car to come to life here probably after about 25 or 30 laps.
You just got a glimpse of Clint Boyer now trying to make a move and under the inside, as well as Greg Biffle trying to move back around and gain a position. Laps are clicking down. 75 laps to go here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Stop number 13 of 35 on the $50 million NASCAR Busch Series Tour. What a great way to kick off a Memorial Day weekend. Tradition of stock car racing here deep in the heart of stock car country. Huge crowd on hand here at Lowe's Motor Speedway enjoying great NASCAR Busch Series action. Back with more in just a moment. And we welcome you back. Beautiful aerial shots high above Lowe's Motor Speedway, this gorgeous 2,000-acre complex. And you can tell, yes, we are under caution once again for the 4th time tonight. Yellow coming out on lap 129 when our leading Rookie of the Year candidate, that guy right there, David Reagan, had trouble with his Ford and spun it around over in the turn. Take a look.
Just went in there high, Jerry, and it came out from under him. Looked like the rear broke loose and just couldn't get it back there under control.
Yeah, that's the problem with these things is you're trying to carry that momentum, but you get in the gas a little bit too soon, you lose that grip in the rear.
And he was lucky not to get hit by some other cars that were charging by. And the 9 car of Casey Kane is in, Dave.
Long debate, Doc, but basically they thought a lot of people could maybe go till the end on fuel from here. So 4 tires, no adjustments. Can we go to the end? Maybe a lap short was the answer to Casey. Shannon.
Jeff Burton has been fighting a loose race car, but they are going to do fuel only, and he is out of his pit stall. Mike?
Looks like a 2-tire change for Matt Kenseth. Left side only, and he's away.
And as they race off of pit road, you see great effort by Greg Biffle's crew. Gained 4 spots. Denny Hamlin's Joe Gibbs team up 4. Kyle Busch lost a spot. Casey Mears, again, good pit work week after week for that Mears bunch as they gain 4 spots and find himself in the top 5. Well, it has been a special evening for all of us at ESPN. Those of us who have been a part of NASCAR coverage before, to be able to have our good buddy Ned Jarrett come back and join us in a father and son duo. And Ned, you gave us so many wonderful memories over the years, you and Benny and Bob and all the crew, and it's been special for all of us to have you come back and be a part of our telecast tonight.
Thank you very much, Jerry, and it's been very special for me to come back here and to work with you and all the folks at ESPN, and particularly to work with Dale. And It's about my bedtime, so I need to get out of here.
Well, we hope you'll keep giving us pointers. I know without you, I wouldn't be here, and neither would DJ, of course, and Andy. So all three of us have so much that we owe to you for just being involved in this sport. So we certainly hope that you will keep watching and call us on the phone and give us some of those pointers to help us get along a little better as we move into our NASCAR coverage here, round 2 of the ESPN ABC NASCAR coverage.
Rest assured, I'll keep watching, and yeah, I don't mind giving you a call. Yeah, that's fine.
The legendary Ned Jarrett, Gentleman Ned, joining us in the booth tonight. A first for motorsports, a father and son championship duo. As Ned came on board to call some of the race tonight, when we come back, we'll talk about what's going on with Juan Pablo Montoya as we get set to go green again from Lowe's Motor Speedway. And welcome back to Lowe's Motor Speedway. Jeff Burton is our leader as the pace car pulls away. Let's listen in to our spotters as we go full throttle.
All right, just be ready. Easy. Be ready. Green. Be nice. Still down there. Still there. All clear. 16 coming with you. Still down there. One outside, 3 abreast. Clear low. 16's 2 back. There you go, all clear. Still down there on the line. Still right on the inside. Still there, bud. Pull back now. Clear all around. Still there?
Well, they span out 2 abreast here, and Jeff Burton is the leader, but he is under attack as he tries to pull away, and they are 2 by 2 behind him.
Yeah, you know, we've got cars here now on a lot of different strategies. This is going to be interesting. If we go green the rest of this race, we've got some guys that I think really feel like they can make it. Maybe everybody, because Jeff Burton, I know, just took on fuel, but we've got some other guys. Matt Kenseth took left side tires, and some guys got 4.
And if it goes green, I believe there's going to be maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of these guys that can go all the way. I think what they're counting on here is maybe having some cautions that they can sprinkle in here that'll give them a few extra laps. But if it goes green all the way from here, there's not going to be, I don't think you're going to see all these guys make it.
Here's a nice little tight battle. The 48 of Jimmy Johnson trying to move up, and does move up in front of the 9 of Casey Kane. And that is for 11th position.
Yeah, Casey Kane came in. He didn't like that 2-tire setup, I don't think, on his car last time. He had started to fall back a little bit, so they came in and got tires, as did Jimmy Johnson this time. So they're back in the pack a little bit further, probably than what they would like to be at this point in time of the race, but I'm sure they feel like that their 4 tires will be beneficial.
And as you look back from Clint Boyer's onboard camera, Boyer has started back in the pack and is hung in the top 10 now for most of the night. The 2-time winner now being shown in 9th position, and whoa, you just saw the shot as they went by Shane Huffman in the 88.
Looks like Clint Boyer's the guy's got his car tuned up pretty good right here.
Yeah, Kurt Busch is still up on the high side, but he's not very happy with his car here. Ever since they had the problem in the pits, Kurt's really been struggling. Don't know if they just haven't made the right adjustments or made an adjustment that his car didn't like.
Yeah, he is being shown in 19th position, 1 lap down. There are 16 cars currently on the lead lap with Juan Pablo Montoya.
And that little adjustment right there he made against the wall is probably one they don't need to make. Saw him get up against the wall just a little bit coming off the corner.
Yeah, and that's at least the 3rd time that we've seen that. So you got to think after a while it takes his toe, whether it knocks the right front fender in or knocks the toe in just a little bit.
Ridiculous tight.
All right, let's check in the Kurt Busch pits with Shannon.
Well, Doc, Kurt Busch qualified 5th for this race until a mistake on pit road put him back. He is currently running 19th. He is not happy with his car. This is the conversation he just had with his crew chief, Matthew Gimbel, over the radio.
Still not doing it for me. Talk like Donald Trump or something. I mean, it's ridiculous. I understand we're fading and we're going to the back. It's just lovely. Do something different. Man, I didn't set the thing up. I'm sorry.
Now, Doc, on that last pit stop, Kurt brought his car in and they added a little rubber to the right rear, right side tires and fuel, hoping to fix the problem.
All right, for more information, you can log on to ESPN.com, search word communications if you want Find out more about driver and crew chief and spotter communications. By the way, if you just joined our coverage, this car, the Penske car of Kurt Busch, led 3 times for 52 laps early in the race. He was the best car in the first probably 85 laps of this race and did not take tires at all until he pitted finally on lap 83.
He did, Doc. He had the best car early. He was running up front, running up on that high line. He hits the wall once, and then he hits it again, but he keeps the lead. And hitting the wall didn't really hurt him as much as losing that lug nut and having a mistake on pit road and having to come back in, and it put him down a lap. And it looks like the team has kind of just fell apart from that. I don't really understand. I don't know why the car would have gone away just because of that, but, you know, it's just the way it happens. Sometimes you lose that momentum, and it's hard to get back.
Yeah, and sometimes, Andy, what we've seen is a little bit of inconsistency with the tire as far as different sets. So he might have had a set that he started the race on, he qualified on, and he really liked that set. They left it on there, and then when they put their next set of tires on there, that's when they seem to have had their problems, even though the pit road lug nuts was what really got him behind, but his car hasn't driven well since then. So it's apparently, as we see Jimmy Johnson losing
48 crash.
And Johnson's car
Two guys.
spins it 2 360s, make it 3, and we'll bring out the caution for the 5th
Looks
time.
like we hit nothing.
I'll tell you what.
This is coming to 1, Jimmy.
This guy can spin a race car out better than anybody I've ever seen. He can spin it out and not hit anything better than anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah, I told you that whenever, in my experiences, it's been luck if I didn't hit something, but he looked like he knew exactly what he was doing going down through there as he was spinning.
I was up there just trying to run with the 9, and I had it crossed up, and I thought I could slide it off there, but I lost it. Just caught the right rear of the spoiler, of the bumper cover on the wall.
Take a look again at Jimmy Johnson. He thought he had it saved, but he just crossed up on him.
Yeah, you heard him say that he'd got up there on the higher side with the 9 car, so he was just experimenting there again, seeing if he could make his car go a little bit faster at that time. But this is, again, just a masterful job of keeping that car off the wall. I can't tell you how difficult that is and getting it righted and not hitting anything.
Boy, Joey Chitwood would be impressed with 3 360s at 180 miles an hour and didn't hit a thing.
And this just goes back to these guys talking about how loose they had to run these cars to keep that momentum and not get them to pushing, and you know, that's just a product of that.
Yeah, boy, you don't think they're on the edge. That just proves it right there. These guys are coming down pit road. Looks like some of them are going to get a little insurance.
They would all be in their window to make this the final stop if they had to. Shannon Spade.
Moments before the caution came out, Jeff Burton and his crew were getting ready to come down pit road because they felt a vibration. His car is loose. He told his crew chief, Pat Smith, you know I like a loose car, but this is really bad. They're going to do 4 tires and a wedge adjustment. Mike?
Denny Hamlin says the car's not completely to his liking, but he can't argue with the lap times. They've been pretty fast. 4 tire change, he's away.
An obvious jubilation there by the Rockwell Automation crew. Great pit stop by Denny Hamlin's bunch to get him on and off pit road. And again, they did it the last time out at Darlington. Dave Rogers and company getting him on and off of pit road in a hurry as we are working the 5th caution flag of the night. A lot of action taking place here thus far at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Aerial coverage tonight brought to you by Goodyear, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for the past 25 years. Getting set for the restart, here is our Holiday Inn race rundown. What has happened so far? If you've just joined us, David Ruderman had some troubles in the opening laps. Possible head gasket problem. He went to the sidelines early.
Boy, Alan, I'll tell you what, you'd have thought we were at Darlington. Some of these guys really neatened up the right side of some of these race cars early in this race. Running real high lines, but boy, they're getting after it.
Using all the racetrack and a little more. Kurt Busch led much of the early going in the race, but on a green flag pit stop, missing lug nuts on the left front, went a lap down, has not gotten back on the lead lap since. And more troubles.
Yeah, we see a lot of spin outs, and part of it's due to the hard tire, and it just seems like guys are just, for no reason, a lot of times losing control of these race cars, so it's been interesting.
Has some of the best in the business there. Championship leader Carl Edwards in the Busch Series, and the Nextel Cup champ Jimmy Johnson. That is what's happened. Let's go full throttle as we go back racing.
48 down low here. Still down there.
Still outside.
Clear one lane. Still here.
Still there.
That's 3 right in the middle. Here, 3 right in the middle. Still there. Clear high, 1 down low. There he goes.
Clear. Coming out there by 5. Clear. 17. Clear again.
Right behind you. Hold on. Coming all up the middle.
And here is Juan Pablo Montoya's 42 car. He was being shown as one of the last cars on the lead lap, and obviously he is slowing down. Has got some damage. And here's cars spinning wildly. Kurt Busch comes sideways, comes to the grass. Mike Bliss spins around the Dodge.
10-4.
And just that quickly, we've got yellow for the 6th time tonight.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson spun also trying to avoid that.
But I tell you what, Alan was right.
Kurt. Take it back.
When he said the best drivers in the business are having trouble. Now Kurt Busch is involved in a spin. I tell you, this tire really is treacherous, especially on restarts.
Yeah, you really have to pay attention, and you got to be up on the wheel. I think the restarts are the most difficult times. If you can get a few laps gone, you seem to be okay. And again, we're not criticizing Goodyear by any means. The tire is good. You know what you have. They're just competitors, and you go as hard as you possibly can. As we see, John Wood's going to get the Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass here.
He's getting a little friendly tap from Robbie Gordon, looked like there too.
Yeah, John Wood, first driver a lap down, gets back on the lead lap. And there are the remains of what was a very good race car. Brand new car that the Penske folks brought here for Kurt Busch tonight. Had trouble on pit road with lug nuts early on. But here's what happened just a moment ago to bring out the caution. Top of your screen.
Looks like the car just got out from under him. Same thing we saw earlier with the 6 car of David Reagan. The car just spun out.
44 car, Mike Bliss spinning. You saw that the 48 car, also Jimmy Johnson spinning around. He spun around, got back on the racetrack, did not lose a lap, but not so lucky for Kurt Busch as you ride on board with his roof cam.
Oh gosh, got it going.
Kurt had been complaining about a very tight car, and I'm sure that they just continued to make adjustments.
Kurt.
Yeah, it looks like they got her on that last adjustment.
Yeah, and there again, I'll go back to some of the tires. It seems to be, as we go on the inboard of the 38 here, you see that car just gets away. I mean, it gives no warning whatsoever. You think you're just driving off the corner. But I think that's probably the scenario to where he had some tires that maybe his car was tight, but you get a set of tires that is extremely loose for your car, and you've made adjustments to that side anyway.
Yeah, it just makes it twice as bad.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who you are. It's going to be hard to hold on to.
And you see Matthew Gimbel and company there in the Penske pits. Don Miller sitting there. Obviously, they knew they had a very good race car tonight, but just could not catch a break. Lug nut problems on pit road, and now a spin here, bringing out caution for the 6th time tonight. Take a look at our Castrol GTX lap leaders. Kurt Busch has led the most laps.
This ESPN telecast of the NASCAR Busch Series at Charlotte is available in high definition on ESPN2 HD, presented by Vizio. Getting down to the business end of this one, and things are getting interesting up front. A little strategy on the pit stops under the last caution has shuffled the running order. The guys that were up front before are back in traffic, and guys have taken track position over tires. The question is, especially if we run these last 48 laps without too many more cautions, is that going to be the right call?
That's a good question, Alan, but man, as hard as these tires are tonight, it's going to be interesting to see who has the setup to take advantage of this hard tire and move through the pack. It's going to be interesting to watch these last few laps.
Greg Biffle is the race leader, and Biffle has certainly had his share of success at Lowe's Motor Speedway in the NASCAR Busch Series. A couple of wins, and out of 12 races, 8 top 10 finishes. It's been a few years since he's been to victory lane here, and Biffle on the prowl looking for a win tonight, and one of those guys who did not stop under that last caution. Not only the tires a question then, does he have enough gasoline to make it to the checkers?
That will be the question. And how about old Casey Kane? He's inched up there in the 3rd place, as well as Stephen Light running 5th.
Yeah, same strategy there. So, Doc, I think we got a little mystery to this one as these laps unfold. Fuel, tire strategy, how many more cautions we going to have, and is this big old track going to swipe at somebody again like it has Jimmy Johnson and Carl Edwards earlier?
Exactly, Alan. In this race last fall, we had 4 different leaders here at Lowe's Motor Speedway in the last 5 laps. We had guys spinning, we had guys getting tagged. I mean, anything can happen here. And by the way, those top 6 guys that did not pit since lap 131, I was told in the pits today they could run 67 to 68 laps, maybe on fuel. Andy, that puts them at lap 198, and that's going to be awfully close.
Yeah, Doc, but they're getting a lot of laps now under caution. They were counting on this when they made this strategy, when they initiated it. They came and got tires and fuel when it was about 68 or 69 laps to go. They knew they couldn't make that much, but if they got some cautions, which they've had 2 already since they pitted, and they're getting a little insurance, and you know, the way I see it, they may have some more to even add to that insurance.
We told you things get pretty crazy here when the NASCAR stars come to Lowe's Motor Speedway, and there's no better example of that than the crazy race we had here a year ago.
We got a grip. Coming the wall already. Trouble 48. Jimmy Johnson. Oh, Jeff Burton. Crash. Jamie McMurray.
Mears is going to look to the high side.
He spins. Both cars crash at turn 4.
Blaney has the advantage on 4. Gets the spins out at turn 4.
Dave Blaney will win the Dollar General 300. Kevin Harvick, the 2006 NASCAR Busch Series champion.
While Harvick wins the title on that night, Dave Blaney gets his very first NASCAR Busch Series career victory, and all of it broke loose in the last 4 or 5 laps here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Okay, we are set. 46 laps to go. Can Biffle, Mears, Kane, and Blaney hang on? Will they have enough fuel? They're coming down to the green flag.
I'm not sure that we've seen the last of the cautions here yet. These guys are going at it pretty hard.
Yeah, and a couple of these guys that figured in that crazy race in the fall are up there again. You got Casey Mears up there.
Yep.
You got to, you know, this could be another crazy finish tonight.
Yeah, if you look at it right now, you got to like Casey Kane's chances. If he can get up there and get by these first 2 guys, I'm sure that Greg Biffle thought, if I can get my car in some clean air, I'd like to see what it would do tonight, and he's got that. But Casey just seems to have the better car this second half of the race. But he can't mess around there long because he's going to have Matt Kenseth and Jeff Burton coming quick.
And as you watch this battle for second between Kane and Mears, let's check in where Shannon is caught up with Kurt Busch.
Kurt Busch just stepped out of his hauler, took a few moments to unwind and relax. Tell me what happened out there.
I didn't hear a word you said. You're really good at that.
Tell me what happened out there.
I just got loose. You know, we made a lot of adjustments. The car just kept changing rapidly from set of tires to set of tires. So pit road's our own worst enemy. I couldn't figure it out. We took a car that led most laps, but real tight, real loose. And it just kept switching on us. So I don't know what it was, but the problem is I think we have that in store for us tomorrow. So maybe I'll be able to make 600 laps tomorrow, 600 miles.
All right, rough week for Kurt Busch. He wrecked out in the All-Star race. Now an early night tonight.
Y'all be ready, guys.
And Denny Hamlin has brushed the wall a few times tonight, and he did it just a moment ago in the Joe Gibbs Chevrolet. He might have hit a little bit harder than he's hit any time tonight on that right side.
Oh, we're ready for you if you need it.
Yeah, he's got that thing.
Right rear damage, Denny. He's probably taking a lot of your side ports away now. Still inside.
Yeah, he's pancaked that car pretty good. Well, when you see him get into it again right here, so he's got a problem with that race car.
We're pitting this time. Still inside. Still inside.
Denny Hamlin, one of the cars on the lead lap.
We see it kind of coming unglued for some of these guys like Kurt Busch. He had one of the dominant cars, and so was the 20. We see him kind of having trouble here.
And as Denny Hamlin comes on pit road, we have a lead change up front as Casey Kane goes sailing by Casey Mears. Got a couple of Caseys up front. As you called it, DJ. You said Casey Kane is going to be a force to be reckoned with tonight, and here with 41 laps to go, he comes from 32nd starting spot to finally take the lead.
Yeah, now he's got his car out in the clean air, something he hasn't had all night. He's been very good in traffic. We've got cars right here racing. These guys are racing extremely hard. Matt Kenseth is trying his best to work his way through this traffic. He's got better tires, fresher tires than a lot of these guys in front of him, but he just can't seem to find exactly where he needs to go. He's got guys that are running on the bottom where he's been wanting to run, and that hasn't, you know, the top hasn't been his forte, but he's trying to get through here because he knows laps are winding down.
We see Dave Blaney up there on the high lane. He's the guy that won the race here in the fall. He's trying to get up there and do it again.
Yeah, Dave Blaney is also one of those 6 cars that did not pit on that most recent caution flag, so his tires are some 12 laps older than the tires in the 17. And by the way, the 4 car only took 2 tires, so he doesn't have 4 fresh ones either.
They got a good race going on right here.
Matt Kenseth's problem is he's running, as we see Greg Biffle on pit road now.
Yeah, this is an unscheduled stop for Greg Biffle. He must have had a problem when he just lost the lead to Casey Kane earlier.
Biffle's car just went up across a racetrack and he pulled down, abruptly slowing. They went sailing by, and now he's been on and off pit road for a tire change here with less than 40 to go.
Well, I was going to say, Matt Kenseth's big problem now is Casey Kane is out there running laps that are about a little over half a second faster than what he's able to back here in this traffic. So as laps wind down, we've got 37 to go now. He's going to have to really hope that his car is as good as it was early on to be able to try to get up there with Casey.
Yeah, it's hard to make these tires and to do something with these tires when you're back in traffic and take advantage of them. So, you know, that clean air is just worth so much.
37 laps to go here on a night when NASCAR stars are set to shine at Lowe's Motor Speedway. And it is a 27-year-old from Enumclaw, Washington, who's showing the way here in the late laps.
Right front damage, right front. Let's get our stalls already. Wreck in 2, Caution is out, caution's out.
Our pole sitter, Casey Kane. 3 cars pile up, including Kane.
It has been a struggle thus far in 2007 in the NASCAR Busch Series for Casey Kane, but not tonight. Casey Kane is having the kind of night that his Ray Evernham team had a year ago here in Nextel Cup competition. His car running high, wide, and handsome here at the front of the field. What about the top 5? Let's bring you up to speed on the top 5 cars as we head down today.
And Jerry just checked in with the 9 crew chief, Mike Shiplett. He told me they should be good to fuel on the end. Casey saying the car is very, very good, obviously, but he did say once the brakes went to the floor, so don't know if they're fighting a continuing issue, but he is out front, and that's a good place to be if you've got that problem. Right behind him, Casey Mears trying to run him down, close on fuel, according to crew chief Chad Walter. By the way, Casey radioed earlier back in that he was glad to see Jimmy Johnson save that other car, the 48, because that's one of his, and it's a good one too, Mike.
Midway through this race, Clint Boyer's car was extremely tight. Since then, on the last 4 pit stops, they've made significant chassis adjustments. They've moved down significantly on the wedge. They've made air pressure adjustments. They've pulled out a rubber out of the left rear tire. Since then, the car has come to life for Clint Boyer. The driver behind him, that's Matt Kenseth. Now, listening to his radio, you would never know he's running inside the top 5. At times, he's been confused, talking about the tire, feeling it went down. That was early in the race. Later in the race, he actually described his car as, quote, junk because it was so loose. Still, he's running strong in the top 5. Shannon?
Jeff Burton currently running 5th. He has been pretty quiet over the radio since that last pit stop. He was battling a loose car all night. Now, Jeff has driven to victory twice this season. He says he doesn't stay focused on the success too long, whether he finishes first or whether he finishes last. He refocuses attention to the next task at hand. Tonight, that task is driving to his 3rd victory of the season. Doc?
All right, thank you very much. We have just 27 laps to go, and the big question mark, both the leader and second place car are going to be very close on fuel. Can they make it? We'll find out when we come back in just a moment. And back at Lowe's Motor Speedway, these beautiful aerial shots from high above this 2,000-acre complex, courtesy of our good friends at Goodyear, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for the past 25 years. Well, the leaders, we were worried about fuel mileage, but they've also had to dodge some debris on the racetrack. Take a look a moment ago. Watch the right side of your screen now. That is the 44 car of Mike Bliss, and something comes out of that car. Dang, here's Casey Kane. He hits a part, and also Casey Mears. Guys, what was that?
I think it may have been a piece of the brake rotor. I mean, for something that hot, it looked like a sparkler, actually, the way it came out of there, almost like fireworks. It had to be something like a brake rotor or a pretty heavy piece of metal. Yeah. Amazing it didn't do any more damage to these cars.
Yeah, it hasn't really slowed either one of them down, and apparently it knocked it off the racetrack, and NASCAR didn't see warranting a caution for that.
Inside of 20 laps to go here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Talk about the difficulty that Casey Kane has had this year in the NASCAR Busch Series and the NASCAR Nextel Cup car. And DJ, it's the kind of night like this tonight that these guys that could turn a driver's season around for Casey Kane or Casey Mears, for example, to be able to have the kind of run they had coming from the middle and the back of the pack and overcoming some issues and maybe picking up a win.
Yeah, you know that it's going to eventually happen, especially for Ray Evernham and Casey Kane and Elliott Sadler and Scott Riggs. You know they're not going to keep these guys down long, especially with the season that Casey had last year. So they're going to work things out, but tonight can go a long way in helping them improve their morale around with the guys and get themselves back on track.
I'll tell you what, if they're able to win this race, there's nothing like going to Victory Lane to start that healing process. I can tell you that right now.
And speaking of healing, a year ago in this race, that 24 car of Casey Mears ran out of fuel with a few laps to go. Thought he was going to win this race. Ended up having to give a quick splash of gas. Still came back and got a top 5 finish, but just rolled the dice. And could it be deja vu again for Casey Mears?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. He's certainly keeping Casey Kane honest. He's really keeping pace with him pretty good here, not letting him get too far ahead. And now we see a caution on the racetrack. So we got a whole new race getting ready to brew up right here.
Inside, you okay?
Well, that's some hard impact we see there on the 14 car.
All right, bud.
Got significant damage. He's still driving the car, though. He's still got somewhat of control, keeping it out of the way.
Yeah, Kyle Krisiloff.
Hold it up there for a second.
Who had that great run at Talladega last month. Getting a top 5 finish, has hit it pretty hard with the right front of his Ford.
The one thing this caution will do, though, is give these guys some insurance that we're gambling on fuel. Sure, they're going to stay out right here, and they have what they have. It's going to be a good dash to the finish, though. I'll tell you, you got some good cars back there.
Yeah, you got some really good cars right there. I mean, all of those guys are running very similar lap times.
And here's Kevin Harvick, who becomes our Aaron's Lucky Dog Free Pass Award winner. Kevin, the first driver 1 lap down, now gets back on the lead lap. And it wasn't but about 45 laps ago that Kevin Harvick was 2 laps down, able to drive past on exchange of pit stops and get 1 lap down. Now gets a 2nd lap back by virtue of being the Aaron's Lucky Dog.
Yeah, that's why he's a champion. I tell you, he never gives up. And he was talking about his car earlier tonight being stupid tight. And I guess they've got it worked out where it's driving pretty good now, too.
What is it with that lingo of these drivers?
Well, sometimes they just got to tell you, when you're asking, hey, is your car tight? Yeah, it's tight. Well, how tight is it? Well, it's stupid tight. You know, they got to tell you, they got to give you an adjective there that you can actually get a degree of tightness or a looseness that these guys can get through to you.
Yeah, some guys will use numbers to describe that. I guess Kevin has a little different way of getting it across to his guys.
I think the message got delivered.
And the leaders will not come on the pit road with just 16 laps remaining here at the NASCAR Busch Series event at Lowe's Motor Speedway. We'll come back with the green flag and the final lap to see who's going to win it in just a
Looking at team owner Ray Evernham, who has had a very difficult 2007 on the track so far. His car, driven by Casey Kane, leading now with 14 laps to go. Earlier this week on NASCAR Now, Evernham talked about the front nose piece on that Charger. It's new for this year. He said his team went down the wrong path aerodynamically on their car. They thought the change of the nose would affect the car one way, built the cars accordingly. Found out that wasn't the case. Once they figured it out, they have had to cut every car in their stable up and start again. He said, we've been doing that. You'll start to see progress for our team soon. That's what's happened so far this season in the Busch Series for Kane and the Nextel Cup Series. But right now he is leading and the laps are running out. Can he hold off Mears, Boyer, Kenseth, and Burton, who are right behind him? We'll find out when we come back to Charlotte for the finish.
Back at Lowe's Motor Speedway, 12 laps to go. Here's a look at our Castrol GTX lap leaders. With just a few laps left, Kurt Busch has led the most laps. You see Matt Kenseth. Casey Kane will lead him down to the green flag. He has led 31. The question is, can he lead 12 more to pick up his first win of the year?
It's really important not to spin the tires here on the restart. Casey Kane does a good job of getting his car out there, getting a good jump. That clean air seems to really be beneficial to him. So it's important that he got a good start right there.
And historically, this is when the scramble begins. A couple of cars stacking it up in turn 2. The 55, that's Robbie Gordon's car, not coming up to speed, and the cars split and go by him. And thankfully, there's no trouble there. He slows down. And Casey Kane will lead a gaggle of cars off of turn 4 as he pulls away by 10 car lengths over Casey Mears, Clint Boyer, and Matt Kenseth. Well, there's the 55 car. A little bit of a issue there. He got a little tap. He got a little out of shape. Car slowed down, but apparently had a tire going down.
Yeah, he had something wrong with his race car right there in front of a big group of cars. He's real lucky not to get in or cause a big wreck right there. I'll tell you, Casey Kane, he got a great restart, and that's going to be really key to him getting that clean air and getting out front, because he's got a hungry Casey Mears behind him. Casey Mears is hungry to win a race.
Casey Mears driving the same car. He finished second in at California. Said it's a great race car.
Digging, ain't nothing coming from behind. Keep digging on it.
These guys are running the fastest laps of the race right now here at the end of the race on old tires, low on fuel. Track's cooled down, a lot of grip. These guys are going for it.
Kane and Mears have not won this year. They are being chased by Clint Boyer, who is a 2-time winner, Matt Kenseth, a 2-time winner, and Jeff Burton, a 2-time winner. So the front two know they've got to get it done and maybe settle it between the two of them. But Casey Kane, DJ, is just setting sail.
Yeah, he really is. And as I look at the monitor, he's about a tenth of a second faster than anybody else there. And that's the second place car. And these other guys just don't seem to have anything for him. He's got his car out there. It likes that clean air. And obviously, this young man knows the way around this speedway.
Yeah, and he's hungry, too. We were talking about how hungry Casey Mears is. Casey Kane's plenty hungry, too, now. And he had a great restart. He's shown he wants to win this thing bad.
Guys, these two guys, Casey Kane and Casey Mears, their careers began in open wheel competition. One turn, and they could be waiting to run the Indianapolis 500 tomorrow, which you'll be able to see on ABC at 12 noon. But instead, they came stock car racing, and tonight they're at Lowe's Motor Speedway, hoping to be able to battle between the two of them to get a victory here, the first win of 2007.
Yeah, I hope they're happy with their decision, because our sport's better off with those guys being here. They've a lot of talent and really good personalities, and they're the kind of drivers and personalities that we need in this sport.
I tell you, this looks like the Casey Kane of old right here. He's just picking them up and putting them down.
You know, not only he's pretty excited about his Cup car tomorrow, and his teammate Elliott Sadler, who starts right up front in third and was fast in practice today. So I think Ray's probably right that they're getting this thing turned around. Sometimes when you have new things, you know, it only takes a little bit, and then you got that new nose on that Charger, and it just threw them off for a few races.
Yeah, it's hard to believe you could change one small thing like the nose on the car and make that much difference. But that's just how competitive this business is. I'll tell you, if you're not right on top of it, you can slip away from you in a hurry.
Well, the worst start of a Lowe's NASCAR Busch Series winner was 33rd in history of this race. That was Harry Gant back in October of 1991. Casey Kane started 32nd tonight.
Yeah, he's done a great job in working his way up through. And there's a guy running 11th that we haven't talked much about. We see a battle here with Jeff Burton trying to get around Matt Kenseth. But Stephen Light, we've been talking here in the booth, has done a terrific job all night as we see Burton go around the outside there to take over the fourth spot from Matt Kenseth. But Stephen Light has just done a terrific job. He got messed up a minute ago. He was running in the top 10, and on that restart where Robbie Gordon had his problem, Stephen got put in the wrong place. He's back in 11th right now, but he's done just a terrific job.
Yeah, he's run a heads-up race tonight for sure to stay on the lead lap.
Yeah, Robert Yates is very high on this young man, just 20 years of age from Asheville, North Carolina, and he certainly has a very bright future ahead of him here in NASCAR stock car racing.
And we see now as Regan Smith goes around Matt Kenseth, looks like he may be having a little bit of problem. Maybe the set of tires didn't match his car exactly right here at the end either. And Jimmy Johnson now trying to take the spot away.
And the track's a lot different right now than it was early in the race when Matt was so dominant. And a lot of these guys didn't keep up with it good. And other guys, like we see Casey Kane, just hit it just right here at the end of the race.
you know, and you talk about the track being different, and it makes you as a driver have to drive the thing a little bit different. So when you start trying to do that, before, whenever you had your spots figured out as to where you were backing off and getting back to the throttle, now that's changed because you're out of the throttle a lot less, and that may not be working with your car. But it obviously is not bothering Casey Kane whatsoever, as he's pulled out to a little over 2-second lead.
Casey Kane.
Give me one more perfect lap.
White flag as Casey Kane comes by. 1.5 miles away from a checkered flag. He won a series high 6 NASCAR Nextel Cup victories a year ago, but his last win came right here at Lowe's Motor Speedway last October. He has yet to go to victory lane this year in Busch or Cup, but what a run by Casey Kane in the final lap coming out of turn 4. And he will come down and take the checkered flag, and Casey Kane is a winner at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Everybody did a great job. Good job, Wolfie, Todd, everybody. Thank you very much. You guys are awesome.
How about Jimmy Johnson, wrecking twice, coming home 6th?
Casey Kane takes the victory. Casey Mears finishes second for the second time this year.
More of these ones.
There's a look at the crew down there.
Build some more of these cars.
Mike Shiplett again. Mike Shiplett and company have done a great job on pit road all year long. Mears, Boyer, Jeff Burton, Regan Smith in the top 5. And as you said, Jimmy Johnson finishes 6th despite those 2 spins.
Good job, guys. Finally got one. Way to go. Good job, Cole.
And let's hear from his happy car owner, Shannon.
Mike Shiplett's first win. So you thought you had it lost. You guys had a mistake on pit road. You were pretty upset. Tell me how you're feeling now.
I'm feeling a lot better now. I mean, luckily that didn't cost us. Casey just drove the wheels off that car, and we gave him a good enough car that he overcame it. But we definitely need to get better on pit road. We're working on that every week. But everybody did a real good job to overcome that, and I'm really proud of them.
All right, a very happy crew chief down here on pit road.
Yeah, Shannon was trying to get Ray Evernham, but he was too busy jumping up and down and celebrating. I don't blame him, considering how far they've had to come in the last few weeks and totally redesigning these Dodges with the new nose. I mean, kudos to the entire Evernham organization. When we come back, we'll visit with a very happy 27-year-old Casey Kane, who has put on one heck of a show here and winning at Lowe's Motor Speedway tonight.
ESPN's presentation of the NASCAR Busch Series from Charlotte is brought to you by Ford, Bold Moves, by Lotrimin Ultra, the one-week killer cure for athlete's foot, and by Aaron's. With over 1,400 stores nationwide, everyone is a lucky dog at Aaron's. Battle of the Caseys tonight at the finish here in Charlotte. Casey Kane outrunning Casey Mears. Let's check with Mike Massaro.
Well, Alan, on a Memorial Day weekend, it seems appropriate that the National Guard car would come home with a solid finish. Not exactly what you were looking for, Casey Mears second, but you got to be pretty happy with it. What did you need to catch Casey Kane?
We were just a little too tight, and we fought that all weekend. We need a little more front downforce or something. We just couldn't quite get the front grip that we needed all weekend long. But it was a great call by Chad, you know, staying out there. That was the thing to do, get the track position, at least get some clean air on the nose and make the car work a little bit better. I want to thank everybody from the 30th that was out here with us this weekend. It's a lot of fun representing the National Guard, and obviously a great weekend to do it. So had a good solid finish. I think we got a good race car for tomorrow.
A great run. Let's go to victory lane with Dave Burns.
Casey Kane climbing out of the 9 car now. His crew waiting for him to give him the traditional shower. Really waiting till they can get a clean shot at him right there. And Casey paying it back just a little bit. Looks like you're sort of savoring that. September and October of last year, good months. It's been a long time since you've been to victory lane.
It has. I think I was right here last time I was in victory lane in the Cup car. Just a good job these guys did. They built a brand new car, Country Croc Dodge Charger for me this week. Mike Shiplett made some great calls during the race, and early on I thought we made a bad call, then we made some good calls, and we were good on the long run. That's where we really shined, and I just took my time there at the end. I thought we had a good enough car to win.
And it was kind of unusual how the bad luck on pit road, a slow stop, but then they gave you 2 tires, but then you had a chance to put on the floor. I mean, it was kind of a weird night.
It was, and all three, the first 3 stops were slow as can be. And then the final one, I'm like, guys, you guys can do it. You can step up, and they stepped up. We had a great stop, got out where we needed to be, and they did a good job tonight. It's a really pretty fresh new team, and they stepped up. It's a great night. My midget team won the night before the 500. I won that race a couple times, and Kevin Swindell won it tonight in our Mopar midgets, so that's pretty neat for Casey Kane Racing also.
And Casey, we've been watching the Evernham organization struggle this year. What does this victory say about that?
That we're working hard. These guys are working hard. From the engine shop to the guys building the cars, the chassis, the bodies. I mean, they're working hard. They don't like to run bad either. They don't. And we're working hard to get better. Hopefully this will help us tomorrow night. We did some things that might help the Cup car. It's a long race tomorrow too.
Casey Kane got out front. He stayed out front here at Lowe's. Doc?
All right, thank you very much. Casey Kane's 6th win in his 130th NASCAR Busch Series race, but his very first ever win here in Busch competition at Lowe's Motor Speedway. More post-race activity and interviews when we come back.
For nearly a century, it's been the proving ground of legend. The best drivers in the world converge for their shot at racing immortality. The Andretti's return and renew a classic father-son brickyard battle. Danica wants to add a queen to the famous kings of this court, and as two-time winner Castroneves crowds the pole, he'll have to fight off teammate and returning champ Sam Hornish Jr.
Sam Hornish Jr. makes the pass. He'll win the 90th Indianapolis 500.
And back at Lowe's Motor Speedway, the NASCAR Busch Series event is history. Former Indy 500s running, Indy 500 winners running tomorrow. There are 6 of them: Elio Castroneves, Sam Hornish, Lazier, Rice, Unser Jr. Good to have a little Al back, and of course, in Dan Weldon. So a great field on hand for the 91st running of the greatest spectacle in racing. Well, a pretty good spectacle tonight here for the NASCAR Busch Series cars, and one driver had a good night. Mike.
That's right, Clint Boyer, big smile on his face because, as he says, he doesn't normally run very good at this racetrack, but a strong run tonight, but it was a work in progress. How difficult was it to come home with this top 3 finish?
It was a struggle. You know, this isn't one of my best tracks. Usually I leave here with a headache because I crashed, but you know, Dan and all the guys on the BB&T Chevrolet made good changes. We just fought tight the whole race, and even the daylight we were really tight. So you know, he made good adjustments. He got me freed up and got me close. We just wasn't quite there.
Well, good run. It's been a pretty good weekend for Clint Boyer. Last night, finished 2nd in a dirt late model race just across the street. Shannon?
All right, Jeff Burton, this was the same car that you drove to a win in Atlanta, and yet at the end of the night, you came on the radio and said there's no future for this car. Why the change of heart?
I'm just a whiner. I don't know. I mean, even in Atlanta, I never thought this car made as much grip as some of our other stuff. But we came here to test with it, and we weren't very good at all. We went home and cut the whole front end off of it and came back with a different package, and it was a whole lot better than it was in the test. But, you know, we were good tonight. We just were never great.
300 miles down, 600 to go. Did you learn anything tonight that you can use tomorrow night in the Coca-Cola 600?
Yeah, get some rest. It's a long race.
Get some rest. It's a long race. Jeff Burton with a 4th place finish tonight.
I gotta love it. I'm a whiner, get some rest. Very practical from Jeff Burton. And back inside our ESPN pit studio, just outside of that winner's circle, Alan Bestwick with our voice of the fan, Brad Daugherty. Some thoughts on the race tonight?
Well, Scott Wimmer had a great run tonight, and a couple of youngsters. Stephen Light, he finishes in the top 10, as well as Reagan Smith, who moves unofficially into 5th place. Those 2 youngsters had really good runs. But overall, Casey Kane, we know how talented Casey Kane is, and I'm glad to see that they've got it figured out somewhat with that new nose. He can march on because this cat can really drive a race car.
It's really hard to put into words just how difficult it is to make one of these race cars right and how much work goes into it when it's not right. But for Ray Evernham, he has dedicated his team's efforts to trying to fix the problems that have ailed them early in the season, and now tonight beginning to see some of the payoff for all the hard work. He's with our Dave Burns right now.
And Victory Lane celebration going on behind us. We're going to let him get to that in just a minute. But, Ray, you've got to be pleased with where this program has come evidenced tonight.
Yeah, the guys have been working really hard, and they've been working together. And really proud of Mike Shiplett. You know, this is his first win as a Busch crew chief. He took the program over, a lot of new guys. And
he almost didn't get it. You had a problem on pit road.
Yeah, we did. And he called off and called it a 2-tire deal, and it was better. But when you start a program with a lot of new guys, you're going to have trouble like that sometimes. But, I mean, that's really what Busch is for. So it was good to come back, and we got a lot of Unilever and Klondike people here in Country Crock, and it's just good for Dodge and everybody else to be here in Victory Lane.
And will this carry over to the Sunday races?
I sure hope so. There's a lot of things we learned about this car. I don't know if we can get them all into the other cars by tomorrow, but just some of the setup things and tire pressure we hope will help. We're not all the way where we need to be with our Cup cars yet, but we're well on the way.
Nice upswing at Evernham Motorsports tonight. Alan?
All right, Dave, thanks. And again, good to see the hard work pay off, because they are working hard. All these teams work hard. It's got to be so frustrating when you're pouring your guts into it and not seeing the results show up.
Yeah, and that is the difficult thing. Every one of these teams, like you say, they work so extremely hard, and it's just by milliseconds that things change your season or change your day. But we've said it all along, Casey Kane has so much talent, and I'm glad for Mike Shiplett. Mike Shiplett actually worked for me, got into the business working for me on my 98 truck. That's 10 years ago, so congratulations to Mike.
Yeah, Mike, a guy who's originally from Ohio and gets to victory lane tonight. Mike told me earlier this season he stepped from the Nextel Cup team back to the Busch Series team to get that crew chief experience, hoping one day to go back to the Cup side at Evernham and become one of their crew chiefs over there. So they'll celebrate the victory tonight. Casey Kane's 6th NASCAR Busch Series win. And, of course, he won both of the Nextel Cup Series races here 1 year ago. Mike Massaro has caught up with the Busch Series championship leader.
And he's still leading the points, but did not come home with the night he was looking for. 17th for Carl Edwards. How would you describe tonight?
It's pretty eventful. That's how I describe it. Just got to thank everybody at Ortho and all the fans for sticking behind us. Yeah, I don't know if we cut a tire, if it just got that loose, but at one point we spun around, lost it, and then later slid up and hit the wall. Just so loose all night that the tires were extremely slippery, and we just couldn't get our car hooked up. But yeah, this one was pretty wild. I was trying real hard not to hit the wall, and we escaped that one, but I couldn't get off it the next time.
Well, guys, you got to believe that Carl Edwards is going to bounce back from this. He does not have many finishes this year outside the top 10.
That is for sure, but with the healthy championship lead Carl had coming into the night, he is still well in command as the series heads to Dover next Saturday. Denny Hamlin was one of the players in this thing for most of the night, but wound up with a pretty rough finish himself after getting into some trouble late in the race. I believe Shannon is caught up with Denny.
All right, Denny Hamlin finished 34th tonight. You have another 600 miles ahead of you tomorrow night. You know, how do you go and prepare for that race now?
Go to bed early. You know, there ain't much else you can do. You know, this is a very tough racetrack, very demanding. The biggest thing is just the aspect of you're so tense every lap because you're on the edge of wrecking, and I managed to do it twice. So I don't know. It was a tough day for the Rockwell team, but for the most part, our car was very strong. I told Dave they keep bringing me race cars like this to the racetrack, and I'll win them some races.
We heard a lot of drivers complaining about a loose car. What was it like out there, the conditions for you?
Well, I tell you, you know, it was loose at times. It was very tight at times, and I think a lot of it has to do with all of our practices are during the day and our races at night. So you got to try to balance, you know, what you got there and see whether you have what the right adjustments and the right adjustability for your car at night. And I think that's going to be a challenge tomorrow, is to see who's coming during the day and who's going at night. So I think that you're going to see a lot of that.
All right, we're going to let Denny go get some sleep and get ready for his 600 miles tomorrow in the Coca-Cola 600.
All right, Shannon, thank you. So Casey Kane, Casey Mears, Clint Boyer, Jeff Burton, the top 4 in this one. Regan Smith with an outstanding 5th place run. I'll tell you, my impression on the night was guys having trouble. Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch, big names. Matt Kenseth faded at the end. You just heard from Hamlin. These guys, normally you can count on being up front at the finish of this one, but this racetrack kind of took a chunk out of them over the course of tonight. We'll see how they make out in the 600 miles tomorrow. Let's head upstairs to the booth. Dale Jarrett, Andy Petrie with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Thank you, Alan, very much. 14 lead changes, guys, among 10 different drivers, but toward the end of the race, the final 42 laps, there was no doubt who had the car to beat Casey Kane.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's really great to see Casey Kane and his team turning it around. Ray Evernham and those guys. I've got a lot of guys that used to work for me that work over there for Ray, and it's good to see these guys get back in victory lane and back to the winning ways that they're used to.
Yeah, very interesting night because, as Denny kind of alluded to there, the guys that ran really well at the beginning of this race weren't the guys that were really the guys to beat at the end. And I think we're going to see a lot of that in the 600-mile race tomorrow. But just shows how different this racetrack can become. As you try to adjust on your car, you might not ever get it there, but makes for a very, very interesting night.
Aside from all the wall contact we saw early tonight and the great efforts early on by Kurt Busch, I think the big story is the turnaround for Evernham Motorsports. You've been a part of those turnarounds as a crew chief a number of years over at Childers when you were trying to get Earnhardt back on track. You're in the midst of one right now, a startup team trying to find itself. How difficult, and let me say, how significant is this tonight for Ray Evernham?
Well, we talked about it, Jerry, before that, you know, being in victory lane goes a long way towards healing your race team. It gets everybody up. It gets them feeling good, and we see them here celebrating. I'll tell you, this goes so far, you can't believe it. These guys go back with all this energy, and it carries momentum, and these guys are going to carry this momentum into tomorrow's race.
Yeah, and if I'm a driver in that Evernham stable, I'm glad that I've got an owner like Ray Evernham on my side working, because this is a guy that knows race cars, he knows how to work people, and he's very good to his race drivers. So that's the kind of person you want helping you to fix your problems within your race team. You know, Ray has done everything, and now he's on the owner's side, but he still has a big hand in the day-to-day operations that are happening there. So those guys are going to get it turned around, and I know that Elliott Sadler and Scott Riggs are sitting back right now saying, you know, this is going to be the kind of things that are going to happen on the Cup side for us too.
Well, round 13 for the NASCAR Busch Series is history, but round 14, well, 1 week from now, we move to Dover, Delaware, the Monster Mile. And what a racetrack that is. It can gobble up race cars, but it's also known for great competition on the 1 mile concrete up in Dover, Delaware. Our coverage 2:30 Eastern time. NASCAR Busch Series at Dover. We'll also have, by the way, on Friday, we'll have practice and, of course, qualifying earlier on Saturday morning. Well, we head back down to the garage area and check in once again with Mike Massaro.
And a very happy Scott Wimmer, another top 10. And it seemed early on in the season these were few and far between for you, but now it seems like you're putting these together. How would you assess the night?
I'm pretty fortunate to be in this car. Richard gave me this opportunity and had a good starting spot, and we just got behind a little bit on our adjustments. And second time I run the car, so I got to work on my communication with these guys a little bit. But they build great race cars, give me great race cars, and I'm going to run next week now. So that's going to be exciting. I'll be in 2 weeks in a row and with the same crew chief.
And that is a big deal for Scott Wimmer, guys, because he's only run back-to-back Busch races once this year. Shannon?
Well, Regan Smith just looked at me and said, we'll take that. Top 5 finish. Tell me what it was like out there tonight.
You know what? It was really good. It was a lot of fun racing with all the Cup guys up front there, and love doing that. You know, it's what it's all about. The U.S. Army Chevy was really good all night, and these guys, I was whining like a banshee at the beginning there. I had a pretty loose race car, and it just came in for me at the end, and Doug Randolph did a great job on the box, and had Mark Martin on the radio too. He was helping to keep me calm down. That was pretty cool to hear his voice come around there. So I'm just proud to have the Army on the car this weekend on Memorial Day, and just tell all our servicemen and women how much we appreciate them.
And any words of advice from Mark Martin over your radio?
Oh yeah, he was giving me advice all night. You know, he said, man, there's a grip on the bottom, go down to the bottom, search for the grip. And a couple times when I was getting high there, he got me back down to the bottom, and just was helping to keep me patient all night long. You know, Doug and my spotter, Chris Lambert, do a good job of that, but it was a good help having him also.
Congratulations, Regan Smith, top 5 finish.
All right, thank you very much, Shannon. Let's take a look at our unofficial full field results. 16 cars finishing on the lead lap tonight. Casey Kane takes the win. Casey Mears, his second runner-up finish of the year. Clint Boyer, another great run in the top 5. Jeff Burton continues. He has not finished out of the top 5 all year long. Regan Smith, you just heard from. Jimmy Johnson, man, he dodged how many bullets tonight?
Yeah, he wrecked that car twice and still came home with a 6th place finish. That's just unbelievable.
There you see Scott Wimmer, another great top 10. And Stephen, like the 20-year-old from Asheville, will be heard from years to come. He is an incredible talent. Stayed in the top 10 all night long. And on fellow Toyota driver, Dave Blaney, having a good run.
Yeah, he did. Dave hung around all night. I'm sure it wasn't the night that he really wanted to, but they stayed out there on some tires late trying to get some track position, but hung on for a good 11th place finish.
There you see Carl Edwards, our points leader, getting his worst finish of the year. Not bad, but you can say your worst finish is 17th. He's had only one outside the top 10 all year long.
Yeah, and I'd like to go back up to the 13th. John Wood was right there, and he's had some rough times this year, but managed to stay on the lead lap tonight and get a good finish out of this.
Greg Biffle, who was a leader with 50 to go, had that late pit stop and had to come on pit road, lost a lap, and ended up finishing in 21st position. There you see David Green, by the way, former Busch Series champion, coming back to run. Good to have David back in a top 30 finishing. And Steve Wallace with a brand new spotter, able to dodge some bullets tonight. What he needed to get, Andy, was laps on the racetrack. That's indeed what he got.
Yeah, he didn't get a good finish, but he did finish the race, and I'm sure that his brother Kenny is helping him to do that.
And you see there the final results. Kurt Busch, what an unbelievable early start as he put those tires on and kept them on for 85 laps and led the first 52 here early in the race, but it was not to be. Well, on a night when NASCAR's brightest stars came out to shine in what has become a Memorial Day weekend tradition here deep in the heart of stock car country, a young man from Washington State, Casey Kane, comes all the way from far back in the pack to get his first NASCAR Busch Series victory. For Dale Jarrett, Andy Petrie, and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Jerry Punch, once again congratulating Casey Kane on his win tonight here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. We invite you to join us next at Dover International Speedway in Dover, Delaware next weekend for live coverage coming your way 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. Don't forget live coverage of the 91st running of the Indianapolis 500 on ABC 12 noon tomorrow. Coming up next, Bassmaster American presented by Advance Auto Parts. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.